leadership skills, full commitment, and total involvement, and aims to develop total quality manager who believe God is one, religion is one, mankind is one, agile and active, far-sighted and visionary, with goal-setting competency, humble and tolerant, self-disciplined, emotionally stable, noble and law-abiding, with strong willpower, logical temperament, curious and imaginative, truthful and honest. CMS education is preparing children and youth for decision making global careers, decision making global professions, decision making global positions, and is making them leaders of mankind who can unite the world and make it a place worth living. CMS is different because of its far-reaching vision of one world, one humanity. The school believes that the basic purpose of all religions is to safeguard the interests and promote the unity of human race, to foster the spirit of love and fellowship amongst men. Progressive revelation means that religious truth is revealed by God progressively and cyclically over a time through a series of divine teachers, and that their teachings are tailored to suit the needs of different ages and places of their appearance. CMS is sowing the seeds of oneness of religion, oneness of God, and oneness of man in the minds of children from a young age through uniquely curated all religion prayer, wherein progressive revelations of the Almighty on earth according to the exigencies of time and the teachings of one avatar or manifestation revealed through the books is depicted through song and dance. World Unity Prayer Ceremony is an elaborate and extravagant ceremony. Children do a lot of research on culture, tradition, innovation in science and technology, and many more aspects of every continent, which they narrate and showcase through song and dance. Everybody together pray for peace in all the continents, while a handful of them, wearing a thoughtfully designed World Unity dress, holding the flag of United Nations, pray for the unity of nations, for peace and happiness to prevail in each nation. The prayer culminates in grand, colorful display of flags of every country of the world, with a student holding one. At every CMS event, students hold a World Parliament wherein children pose as world leaders and discuss current international issues and try find their solutions. This World Parliament was designed and conceptualized many years ago to inculcate global citizenship in students from an early age. This is one crucial beginning in the pursuit of world unity, peace, happiness towards green, clean, and sustainable earth. Education is a continuous and creative process. Its aim is to develop the capacities latent in human nature and to coordinate their expression for the enrichment and progress of society. True education releases capacities, develops analytical abilities, confidence in oneself, willpower and goal-setting competencies, and instills the vision that will enable a child or a youth to become a self-motivated agent of social transformation. Global understanding is an essential aspect of 21st century education. CMS World Unity Education Department organizes international youth meetings, participate in National Unity Day to endorse words and deeds of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, who upheld manpower without unity is not a strength. The department organizes international conferences of Chief Justices of the world every year since the turn of the century. Chief Justices, judges, legal luminaries, heads of states, eminent dignitaries, and peace promoters from 136 countries have visited Lucknow, in which many have been participating year after year in support for a united, peaceful, and happy world order.
We are holding this conference on Article 51 of the Constitution of India. We want to save the life of not only 2.5 billion children in the world. but of the total 7.5 billion people of this world.
The landmark event of the conference is the Lucknow Declaration, rolled out after 5 days of intense discussions, deliberations, interaction with CMS students. Copy of this resolution is sent to governments and legal fraternity across the world, to the Secretary General of the United Nations, as well as the world bodies like UNESCO, UNICEF, African Union, European Union, and ASEAN for consideration. If human civilization is not to go down in blind internecine conflicts since the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and the recent spread of international terrorism, global warming, stockpiling of weapons of mass destruction, fear of a third world war and nuclear holocaust, there must be a development of world planning for world federalism as enshrined in the ancient Indian wisdom of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, or Earth is but one country and mankind its citizens. CMS, the winner of the UNESCO Prize for Peace Education in 2002 through its curriculum of education for protection and security, since the turn of the century has been convening the international conferences of Chief Justices of the world that aims to unite the world for children through enforceable international law and effective global governance. To hold discussions, share concerns, and to build consensus for world unity and peace.
I had the proud privilege of welcoming you to the first session of this very important international conference of the Chief Justices of the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is very good that you congregate to celebrate the diversity of the world. We pray for the happiness of all. We pray for the development of all.
To bless the conference, friends, here is the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, Shri Yogi Adityanath ji. The conference was declared open by the Deputy Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, Dr. Dinesh Sharma.
I appeal to everybody. Do not busy yourself only in your own concerns or the concerns of your countries alone. Let your thoughts be fixed upon that which will rehabilitate the fortunes of mankind and sanctify the hearts and souls of men.
CMS endorses the urgent need of an enforceable international law whose time has come.
मैं उत्तर प्रदेश सरकार की ओर से उत्तर प्रदेश की 22 करोड़ जनता की ओर से बहुत-बहुत स्वागत करता हूं, अभिनंदन करता हूं.
The business of the 19th International Conference of Chief Justices of the World was set in motion.
This is not the first time Dr. Gandhi is holding a meeting of this kind. He seems to have struck the right chord in talking about issues in which globally there's unanimity, in which globally no country can sound different.
हमारे देश की संस्कृति और सभ्यता वसुधैव कुटुंबकम की रही है, जिसमें संपूर्ण पृथ्वी को अपना घर तथा समस्त मानव जाति को परिवार का एक सदस्य माना है. ऐसे में हमारा एक नैतिक कर्तव्य बनता है कि हम सारे विश्व की सारी मानव जाति की भलाई के लिए काम करें.
Nelson Mandela says, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. If you want to change the world, the only way is to change the school and change the teachers and go to the school.
Really feel that we will have some outcomes from the deliberations that you will have over the next few days, which will give a great message to the rest of the world about the significance and seriousness of this very important subject that you're going to deliberate on.
विश्व शांति के हम साधक हैं, जंग ना होने देंगे, हम जंग ना होने देंगे.
हम जंग 50th Conference on Article 51 of the Constitution of India relating to international peace and security is a unique conference virtually organized by 2.5 billion children.
In these conferences so far, 1,299 Honorable Chief Justices, judges, heads of state, Speaker of the Legislative Assemblies, and ministers from 136 countries have taken part. They have endorsed the idea of uniting the world for children through enforceable international law and effective global governance. Their suggestions have given a boost to the movement. In a matter of pride for the country and the city, CMS founder Dr. Jagdish Gandhi has been awarded an honorary doctorate in social science, honoris causa, by Mrs. Hillary Clinton, the Chancellor of Queen's University, Belfast, UK, and former US Secretary of State on 24th of September 2021. Mrs. Hillary Clinton also presented the autographed copy of her book, Hard Choices, to Dr. Gandhi with a message to Dr. Jagdish Gandhi with congratulations on your honorary doctorate at QUB 2021.
In the name and by the authority of the university, I confer on Jagdish Gandhi the degree of Doctor of Social Science, honoris causa.
CMS has striven to create a happy environment where there is scope for self-expression, self-belief grows, and where children feel empowered to take on the world. Jai Jagat.
Jai Jagat, and a very warm good afternoon to one and all present over here. It is my proud privilege on behalf of City Montessori School, Lucknow, to welcome you all at this august gathering of most illustrious CMS alumni who are presently serving as IAS, IFS, IRS, and IPS. And indeed, it's our honor to have amidst us one of our former student who is now the Member of Parliament as a chief guest, whom our founder manager will be shortly introducing. He is none other but Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi, the Member of Parliament from Rajya Sabha and the national spokesperson of the Bharatiya Janata Party, and a former student of CMS Rajendra Nagar campus of the 1983 batch. We are also very honored to welcome our very, very special guest, His Excellency Mr. Gopal Bagley, who is an IFS officer and is presently the High Commissioner of India to Sri Lanka. We are honored to have amidst us Her Excellency Ms. Apurva Srivastava, IFS and Consul General, Consulate of India in Toronto. We are honored to welcome amidst us, and Ms. Apurva Srivastava is a former student of City Montessori School, and she has studied at two of our campuses, that is the Jopling Road campus and the Mahanagar campus, way back in 1988. And I forgot to tell you that His Excellency Mr. Gopal Bagley has been a 1980 pass out, the senior most alumni present over here as of now, of the Rajendra Nagar and RDSO campuses. Mr. Prakash Gupta, who is also an IFS officer, is the Joint Secretary Summits and UN Affairs at the Ministry of External Affairs, presently posted in New Delhi, and he is a 1996 pass out of the ISC from CMS Station Road campus. We have amidst us Ms. Neha Giri, who is presently the CMD of Rajasthan Handloom Corporation, and she has joined us from Jaipur. She is the 2002 ISC pass out and an alumna of CMS Aliganj campus, and we are very honored that the present principal of CMS Aliganj campus, Ms. Jyoti Kashyap is here with us. I would also like to welcome our CMS management, most respected founders, Dr. Jagdish Gandhi and Dr. Bharti Gandhi, most respected president and the managing director of City Montessori School, Professor Geeta Gandhi Kingdon. We're also honored to have Mr. Roshan Gandhi, who is presently the Chief Executive Officer of CMS, Mr. R.C. Gupta, he is the General Secretary of CMS. All of us have joined. And very shortly, we'll have other IS officers joining us. At the moment, we have Mr. Deepak Mishra, who is the SDM at Bhagalpur, Bihar. He has joined us. And we are also honored to have Mr. Gyaneshwar Singh IPS, who is the Deputy Director General of Narcotics Control Bureau. And he's a very senior IPS officer of the 1983 batch of CMS Station Road campus. He is joining us very shortly. And Mr. Nipen Singh, IS, Additional District Magistrate from Alipur, West Bengal. He'll be joining us shortly. We have amidst us other principals of CMS. We hope to have Ms. Batra joining us and Dr. Kamran also joining us shortly. And we have our very dear alumnus of CMS, Mr. Hassan Ahmed. He is an IRS and Undersecretary, Ministry of Finance. I just saw that he has also joined us. He is posted presently in New Delhi, and there was an alumni meet in New Delhi, and he was there to support us as well. So, without wasting much time now, I would like to cordially invite our founder manager and thereafter founder director and president to say a few words. I think
I'm also there just to greet my alumni. Welcome all my alumni. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm very proud of you. Now there is a time to stop war. So give your statement. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, ma'am. We'll be having our chief guest of the day, Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi, joining us shortly. And since he has not joined as of now, may I request His Excellency Mr. Gopal Bagley to say a few words. And before I invite him, I would briefly like to introduce Mr. Gopal Bagley. Prior to his current assignment as the High Commissioner of India to Sri Lanka since May 2020, Mr. Bagley served as Joint Secretary in Prime Minister's Office in India since the year 2017. Before that, His Excellency Mr. Gopal Bagley had served in various capacities in the Ministry of External Affairs in New Delhi, including official spokesperson of the Ministry of External Affairs, Joint Secretary Division, Director in the External Affairs Ministry, and in the United Nations Division, and the Deputy Secretary looking after the Eastern and the Central Europe. Such an illustrious IFS officer has joined us, and we're very honored to welcome you, sir. Sir is 1980 pass out from CMS Rajendra Nagar and RDSO campuses. We would like to hear to you about your experiences in CMS, how CMS education shaped your career, and anything that you would like to share with the management and the present students of City Montessori School. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I understand I would have about 10 minutes for the remarks, so I will try to conclude within that limit. Honorable Chief Guest, the Member of Parliament, Dr. Trivedi ji, Founder Chairman of City Montessori School, most respected Dr. Jagdish Gandhi sir, Founder Director and most respected Bharti Didi, the President and MD, the Chief Executive Officer, the Head of the International Cooperation, Dr. Shishir, Principals, Faculty, and most importantly, last but not the least, dear alumni and colleagues from civil services, students, if they have joined, Jai Jagat, Namaskar. It is such an honor and privilege for me to not only be part of today's event, this very important civil services conclave, but also in a sense to set it off in terms of discussions and exchange of views. As I had written earlier to most respected Dr. Gandhi, I hold a deep debt of gratitude for shaping me and my career and my values in the most impressionable and formative years of my life and academic career, when I was a student of Rajendra Nagar for a few days and then RDSO branch in the class 9th and class 10th. But I think even before I thank the City Montessori School for today's opportunity, I must also thank it for inculcating in me the foundation, the core of what has made me what I am today. City Montessori School has always stood as an entity which knows the difference between education and exams, which values achievements and accomplishments more than the marks and the grades that we obtain in examinations, which puts more stock in development as a person than just going from one grade to another. And above all, which teaches us that it is more important for all of us to see ourselves as parts of society, nation, humanity, than just an individual pursuing either some academic or career goals. In that sense, the motto of the school, Jai Jagat, and the theme of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam sums up what we try to do as diplomats today. And that brings me straight to the core of what I want to say, that how the education that I received in City Montessori helps me. And when I say education, I obviously mean very little about the classrooms, but mostly outside the classrooms. Much will be spoken today about the so-called extracurricular activities of sports, World Parliament, Scout camps, science and technology conferences and exhibitions, and so many other events such as Scout camps and prayers and multi-religious prayers and assemblies, the special lectures which were organized for us back then 40 years ago, 42 years ago. But I would confine myself to what the motto of Jai Jagat has taught us. And today's program also focused on the theme of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam in the film which was shown before we started the proceedings. A great deal of explanation and importance was attached to it. If you really look at it, as Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi has also said repeatedly, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is the ancient vision, the global vision that has come down to us from generations ago, from thousands of years ago. Jai Jagat, therefore, not only summarizes for us the oneness of humanity and the world, but also oneness of our objectives, that is the well-being of all in the world. But since we are in the profession of diplomacy, what we do essentially is to pursue national interests on a global stage. And that we do in a manner that helps us serve our country, our society, and our people. So how this motto and how did the values that I learned in City Montessori help me? First of all, as I said, diplomat's action is local. His interest is in serving the interest of the country, although his stage is global. Just to give some examples from the current developments, the Operation Ganga of evacuation of 18,000 or more Indian nationals from the conflict zone in Ukraine. Or if we are discussing and concluding a trade deal with the United Arab Emirates, or we are securing India's investment interests in the oil and gas reserves of Russia, or we are negotiating climate change deals at a global stage. All these things have to be primarily driven by national interest. But in doing all this, we have to work with the cultures, with systems which are not of our making, and in fact, in some cases, are not only unfamiliar, but alien and even adversarial to us. So what City Montessori taught me was actually the value of relative culturalism. We may have one point of view, but the other's point of view also deserves to be listened to and respected before we enter into discussions and negotiations with them. The importance of communication, the importance of camaraderie, the importance of conveying clearly our views, all these were inculcated in a manner, in a very subtle manner, without being prescriptive about it. So when we represent India on the global stage, I think the exposure that I got as a student to not only leaders of the state, of the nation, but also global persons which came to us, which talked to us, and even there were student exchange programs involving foreign students. I think they helped me enormously in forming the values, forming the approaches, which are of great help not only to me, but I think to everyone in the civil services, but more so to the diplomats. And I'm sure Apurva and Prakash, who speak after me, perhaps will endorse this and elaborate on this further. Another important aspect was the values which we imbibed not only in lectures and classes, but right from the first prayer in the assembly. In those days, we began the prayer with Satya Ahimsa Aste Aparigraha Brahmacharya. Out of these 5 eternal principles of conduct, what has stayed with me a great deal is aparigraha. Aparigraha, of course, meaning taking from the world only as much as I need. Mahatma Gandhi said very eloquently, there is enough in the world for everyone's need, but not for everyone's greed. And what better way to understand it today when we are all negotiating what we need to do about protecting our planet and the future of our generations from the impact of climate change. But as a person also, I think I was deeply impacted by the environment and the cultural values, which not only my peers and my friends in City Montessori carried, but the faculty, the principal, and most of all the leadership of the City Montessori school at that time inculcated and showed us not in words, but in deeds, showed us not just by asking us to do something, but themselves doing it. I remember very well how Dr. Gandhi and Bharti Didi visited me in my home just before the high school examination to encourage us. And it was not only me, they were going from house to all the students who were appearing in the high school examination. My sister, who was at that time a teacher in the high school in one of the branches, also received such a visit. So it was not only students they were caring and mentoring about, but they were also caring and encouraging their faculty to work more closely and more strongly on the students to shape their values. So I think this aspect of caring and mentoring something is very important, which I learned from there. The different competitions, the exposure that I got gave me enough confidence to be what I am, to speak out about what I feel, be polite, but be firm. And which is very important, not only in bureaucracy, but on the global stage where, as I said, we are defending our country's interests. 2 more points before I close. And one of them is about a sociological aspect. When I was a student back in those days, 1980, I passed out. There were a few brands which were established in Lucknow in terms of education and academic excellence. City Montessori, as has been mentioned, started in 1959 with 5 students, 2 teachers, a borrowed capital of 300 rupees. And today it is what it is. So what it showed is your background doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what are the other brands. You can become your own brand. And that in a relatively smaller place like Lucknow was very important, because then when we went to the national stage, then when we went to Delhi for our UPSC examination, interview, and then with other civil services, we carried that confidence forward with us. My last point, I will come back to the motto, Jai Jagat. The very important word, of course, is Jai, which we all know what it means. But Jagat is not only word, but Jagat comes from a word which incorporates movement and change. As they say in Ishopanishad, Isha Vasyamidam Yat Kinchit Jagatyam Jagat. All that in this word is changing, is impermanent. Buddha spoke about the 4 noble truths, and the first noble truth among them is the truth of impermanence, of change. I did not realize it at that stage, I must be honest. But later on, when I reflected on Jai Jagat, I not only understood more about the oneness of humanity and our values and our objectives as one human race, but I also understood that everything is impermanent, and therefore it is important to act, but act in a dispassionate manner. So the value of dispassionate, detached action, which we all know, Bhagavad Gita also teaches so effectively. In a sense, I owe that also very, very well to my alma mater, City Montessori School. I would conclude by once again thanking very sincerely the leadership of City Montessori School, all those who have taken this initiative, all those who have joined today's event. And I would say that I wish City Montessori School, its students, its distinguished faculty, and its outstanding leadership, that they continue their enormous contribution to shape the leaders of future. Thank you very much. Jai Jagan.
Thank you so much. Yes, Dr. Gandhi, please.
Thank you very much, Gopal Bagley, our High Commissioner of India in Sri Lanka. Thank you so much. Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi has come, and I would like to introduce our chief guest for this day, Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi ji. He is the national spokesman of the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party of India. We are extremely happy and proud to have Honorable Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi, national spokesman of the biggest political party and the ruling party of India, that is Bharatiya Janata Party, as our most honored chief guest at the UN Human Rights Day celebrations. We had this Human Rights Day celebration a few days ago, where also he was the chief guest. Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi has been a brilliant student of this very institution of City Montessori School. Thereafter, he obtained his PhD in mechanical engineering and also served as a faculty in the mechanical engineering department of some prestigious universities of the country. His last assignment as an academician was as the assistant professor of mechanical engineering at APJ Abdul Kalam Technological University at Lucknow. As a part of his academic work, he has undertaken several prestigious assignments, some of which include his work with Media Lab Asia, a project in collaboration with Media Lab at MIT, Boston, USA, at IIT Kanpur, and as a member of the Science and Technology Committee of the Government of Uttar Pradesh. Dr. Trivedi has attended and addressed several international conferences on politics, culture, social science and technology and development in countries like the USA, Japan, China, Singapore, Thailand, Philippines, Qatar. He has been widely interviewed by prestigious international media houses like the Voice of America, Washington, RBC Radio, TV Asia, and ITV New York. In the previous years, he was invited by the American Council for Young Political Leaders, a prestigious program for young leaders supported by US State Department during the US presidential election in September 2008. Honorable Dr. Trivedi has also been invited by the India Center Foundation, Tokyo, in its Young Leaders program in August 2009. During this visit, he met several leaders of Japan, including former Prime Minister Mr. Hatoyama and present Prime Minister Mr. Shinzo Abe. He was invited by the Central Committee of Communist Party of China as young political leader from South Asian countries in June 11. He was invited by the government of Singapore as young political leader in February 2014. He was invited by internationally renowned USA based Bikram Yoga Institute to give lecture on a spiritual and scientific aspect of yoga. He is the only young leader today to be invited abroad to give lectures on culture, spiritualism, and science. His extensive experience, deep understanding of the issues, and intellectual ability propelled him to be the exalted position of national spokesman of the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party. Dr. Trivedi has also been the youngest ever political advisor of the president of any national political party of India, being appointed at a very young age of 35 years. He was also the youngest ever information advisor to the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, the largest and the politically most important state of India. Currently, he also serves as political advisor to Honorable Rajnath Singh, Union Defence Minister of India. During the 2014 general elections in India, Dr. Trivedi was member of 4-member high-level committee of BJP to look after the party's media publicity campaign. The other members of the high-level committee were Mr. Amit Shah, the president of BJP, the Home Secretary of India, and Home Minister of India, Srimati Sushma Swaraj, presently at that time she was External Affairs Minister of India, Arun Jaitley, at that time he was the Finance Minister of India, Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi's strong oratory skills and highly knowledgeable background have been often put to use by Bharatiya Janata Party to convincingly put its points across. We are extremely honored to have him as our most honored chief guest. We thank him for kindly accepting our humble invitation and sparing his time for our school program. Thank you once again, Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi ji. Shishir.
Yes. We now cordially invite the chief guest of the day, Honorable Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi ji, Member of Parliament, Rajya Sabha, to please address the gathering and share his memories as to how the CMS education helped in shaping his career. Thank you.
Respected Dr. Jagdish Gandhi ji, Bharati Gandhi ji, Geeta Gandhi ji, all other senior office bearers of the City Montessori School, all respected alumni of India's civil services, foreign services, who are there serving to the country from its various esteemed positions. बहुत से तो ऐसे लोग हैं जो मुझे पता ही नहीं था कि वो लोग भी CMS के हैं. आज इस प्रोग्राम में देखकर ही मुझे पता लगा. I just want to say that present day, whenever we go anywhere in the country or go abroad, as Gopal Bagley ji was saying, I was hearing him a couple of minutes back, he was emphasizing on CMS motto of Jai Jagat, because he is dealing with the foreign services. In this context, I would like to say 3 things. First, I would like to share some experience. आज जब मैं बात करता हूं तो कई बार लोग ये कहते हैं कि आपको बहुत सारी चीजें, आप इंजीनियरिंग बैकग्राउंड के हैं और आपको साहित्य, कविता, ये सारी चीजें कैसे याद है. इस बारे में तो मैं ये कहना चाहूंगा कि when I was in class 10th, और जिस ढंग से पढ़ाई होती थी और एक एक चीज की डेप्थ में जाकर पढ़ने का मौका मिलता था. At the time we were the student of UP board, the syllabus was so extensive कि ये बात मैं पूरी जिम्मेदारी से कहता हूं कि अगर आपने क्लास 10th बहुत ईमानदारी से पढ़ा है, तो योर फाउंडेशन विल बी वेरी स्ट्रांग, whether it is a physics, chemistry, biology, English or Hindi. And I owe this strong and firm foundation to City Montessori School. अब मैं एक छोटा सा एग्जांपल देता हूँ। भाई हमने तो इंजीनियरिंग पढ़ी, अब क्या होता था, अभी जब कोविड का वैक्सीन का दौर आया और डीएनए, आरएनए, जीनोम सीक्वेंसिंग की बात आई, तो अक्सर दोज हु हैव स्टडीड engineering, they are considered to be focusing more on physics, chemistry and math rather than zoology, botany. तो अब वो डीएनए में जो 5 न्यूक्लियोटाइड होते हैं, एडेनिन, गुआनिन, साइटोसिन, थाइमिन, और जो आरएनए में यूरेसिल होता है, इसके नाम लोगों को नहीं ध्यान रहते हैं। एंड इट इज एक्सपेक्टेड कि जिसने बीएससी एमएससी किया होगा बॉटनी में, जूलॉजी में, उसी को पता होगा, बट ये क्लास 10th में पढ़ाया गया था, अगर आपको अच्छे ढंग से याद रहे। सेकेंड थिंग, अब आप हिंदी कविता की बात करें तो ये कहा जाता है कि भाई 9 प्रकार के रस होते हैं, और रसों की उत्पत्ति कहां से होती है, तो ये क्लास 10th में ही पढ़ाया गया था। विभाव, अनुभाव, व्यभिचारी संयोगात रसः निष्पत्ति। विभाव, अनुभाव, व्यभिचारी भाव के संयोग से रस की उत्पत्ति होती है। अब नॉर्मली इट इज कंसीडर्ड हु हैज डन बीए और एमए इन हिंदी लिटरेचर, देन ही कैन अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट इज विभाव, व्हाट इज अनुभाव, व्हाट इज व्यभिचारी भाव, बट ये भी क्लास 10th में पढ़ाया गया था। इसलिए मैंने ये कहने की बात करता हूं कि जब आप डेप्थ में पढ़ते हैं किसी भी चीज को, और जो सीएमएस ने प्रोवाइड किया था, एक मैं इंस्टांस से बताता हूं, आफ्टर 10th एट द टाइम देयर यूज्ड टू बी एनटीएससी एग्जामिनेशन, नेशनल टैलेंट सर्च एग्जामिनेशन, जिसमें थोड़ा क्लास 10 से ऊपर के सिलेबस की चीज भी इन द समर वेकेशन पढ़ाई जाती थी। 1 मंथ का कोर्स होता था, फिर हम लोग जाके एनटीएससी एग्जाम देते थे। तो आफ्टर आई वेंट इनटू 11th, उसमें वो जो पीरियोडिक टेबल थी और जो केमिकल नॉमेनक्लेचर था, एट दैट टाइम इट वाज नॉट द पार्ट ऑफ द क्लास 10 सिलेबस, बट सीएमएस में वो एनटीएससी में पढ़ाया गया था। तो जब क्लास 11th में हमारे टीचर ने पढ़ाना शुरू किया और उन्होंने वो हेक्सीन, डाइमिथाइल हेक्सीन का कोई फार्मूला लिखा, और उन्होंने पूछा कि क्या आप बता सकते हैं, कैन एनीबडी टेल व्हाट इज दिस, तो मैंने हाथ उठाया, तो वो मेरी तरफ मुस्कुरा कर कहते थे, तुम तो ताजे हाई स्कूली हो, तुम्हें ये कैसे पता है। खैर मैंने बताया, तो कहते हैं ये तो सही है। देन उन्होंने फिर हंसते हुए पूछा कि हाउ डू यू नो दिस, या तुम्हें कोई अंतः प्रेरणा हुई। तब मैंने बताया नहीं सर, हमने स्कूल में आफ्टर 10th 1 मंथ जो एलटीएससी का कोर्स पढ़ा था, उसमें ये भी सिलेबस में था, इसलिए इसको गहराई से। तो दैट जस्ट आई वांट टू से कि किस ढंग की स्ट्रॉन्ग फाउंडेशन उस समय सीएमएस ने दी थी। So in the various subjects, you can have a versatile knowledge if you have seriously studied your class 10th and 12th. Now coming to the motto, जो अभी बागले जी कह रहे थे, जय जगत। अब ये 2 वर्ड्स हैं, जय और जगत, दोनों का मतलब समझिए। जय शब्द का अर्थ होता है किसी भी चीज के पक्ष में बोलना, इसमें किसी का विपक्ष नहीं। 2 वर्ड्स होते हैं हिंदी या संस्कृत में, जय और विजय। विजय इज ऑन एनीबडी एल्स, व्हेन देयर इज वन अपोनेंट एंड यू हैव टू कॉन्कर इट, देन इट इज विजय। बट व्हेन इट इज जय, देन इट इज जस्ट हेलिंग, इट इज नॉट अपोजिंग, डिनाउंसिंग और डोमिनेटिंग एनीबडी। इसीलिए हमारे यहाँ क्या कहा जाता है, भारत माता की जय, तो किसी के अगेंस्ट में नहीं कहा जाता। इसीलिए जब आप जय जगत कहते हैं, मैन यू आर हेलिंग फॉर द अपलिफ्टमेंट of entire world, not taking a stance against anyone. And the next word comes jagat. इसका मीनिंग क्या है? ज का अर्थ होता है उत्पत्ति और गत मीन्स गति। इसका अर्थ क्या हुआ, जो सदैव परपीचुअल मोशन में। अब बताइए, हमारे संस्कृत में वर्ड ही है जगत, which is there in the perpetual motion since the point of inception. और बाकी जगहों पे तो क्या बताया गया था, द अर्थ इज स्टेशनरी, द अर्थ इज फ्लैट। और हमारे यहाँ क्या कहा गया, द ज्योग्राफी का नाम ही है संस्कृत में भूगोल। द अर्थ इज गोल एंड इट इज परपेचुअली moving. It is embedded in the basic elementary words, but unfortunately we have not given a proper emphasis on these words, and we carried away by those ideas which have propagated, inculcated, implanted in our mind कि साहब वो हमें बाहर से पता चला है। और मजे की बात है, उन लोगों ने समझाया जिन्होंने कहा था धरती चपटी है, जिन्होंने कहा था कि when Magellan was going around the world, तो वो किनारे में मत जाना वरना गिर जाओगे, जैसा अभी भी एक लैपटॉप का एडवर्टीजमेंट में आपको टीवी पे दिखाया जाता है। सेकेंड थिंग मैं इसमें कहना चाहता हूं, दिस जय जगत आइडिया वाज इंस्पायर्ड बाय वसुधैव कुटुंबकम, द एंटायर वर्ल्ड इज अ फैमिली। Again, I say with firm conviction, why this Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam word is only in Sanskrit, not in any other language? If in English you ask, the world is a global market. And in Sanskrit, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, there is a huge difference between considering yourself in the market and yourself in the family. परिवार में प्यार होता है और मार्केट में व्यापार होता है, और व्यापार भी कैसा होता है, कट थ्रोट कंपटीशन होता है। अब धरती को हम कहते हैं परिवार। देखिए, कोई भी लैंग्वेज या कल्चर आपको अपने बेसिक एलिमेंट्स में क्या बताता है। देश को क्या कहते हैं, भारत माता। नोवेयर इन द वर्ल्ड यू कैन सी दैट अ कंट्री इज कंसीडर्ड मदर, बिकॉज वी कंसीडर्ड कंट्री एज अ लिविंग कॉन्शियसनेस, नॉट एज अ पार्ट ऑफ लैंड। और जब पर्सन को कहते हैं, इफ आई आस्क यू व्हाट इज द एग्जैक्ट हिंदी ट्रांसलेशन ऑफ द वर्ड पर्सन, इट इज व्यक्ति। व्यक्ति is a word which means expression, abhivyakti. So every person is abhivyakti or expression of what? That divine eternal consciousness. तो आप ये समझ लीजिए कि व्यक्ति की परिभाषा हो, राष्ट्र की परिभाषा हो, पृथ्वी की परिभाषा हो, जगत की परिभाषा हो, फंडामेंटल्स में ही how great our thoughts were, but unfortunately आज सब हिंदी संस्कृत के बेसिक एलिमेंट भूलते जा रहे हैं, तो उसकी वजह से आप बेसिक एलिमेंट ही नहीं समझ पाएंगे। अब आप पीरियोडिक टेबल ही नहीं पढ़ेंगे तो आप केमिकल इक्वेशन के आगे जाके समझ पाएंगे। उस बेसिक सोर्स ऑफ नॉलेज से हम डिस्कनेक्ट होते जा रहे हैं। इसलिए मैं यह कहना चाहता हूं कि आज जो भी आप लोग डिफरेंट फील्ड्स में काम कर रहे हैं, एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव सर्विसेज में, फॉरेन सर्विसेज में, रेवेन्यू सर्विसेज में, पुलिस सर्विसेज में, जो सिविल सर्विसेज में हैं, तो आप ये समझिए कि आपको कितने बड़े कंट्री को सर्व करने का मौका मिला। और जब हम कहते हैं कि वर्ल्ड एक परिवार है और ये कितना महान कंट्री है, तो हम ऐसे ही नहीं कहते। जब भी आप लोग स्कूल कॉलेज में पढ़े होंगे, CMS में भी होता था, किसी भी कार्यक्रम की शुरुआत कैसे होती थी, सरस्वती वंदना से होती थी ना। और अगर मैं आपसे पूछूं which country of the world is in the farthest eastern point of the globe, that is Japan. जापान में एक देवी है जिनका नाम है बैजेंटीन, and that goddess is called the goddess of wisdom, and it is having veena in her hand. Byzantine is nothing considered to be a form of Indian goddess Saraswati. Maybe, ये मैं दावे से नहीं कर रहा हूं, maybe Byzantine वीणा माधुरी का कोई चेंज फॉर्म होके बन गया हो। This is on the farthest eastern point, and look at the farthest western point, America. अमेरिका में आप में से जो लोग गए होंगे, अब यहाँ वागले जी बैठे हैं, अपूर्वा जी बैठे, उनको तो पता होगा, वॉशिंगटन में डिफरेंट एवेन्यूज हैं स्टेट्स के नाम पे, और इंडोनेशिया की एम्बेसी मैसाचुसेट्स एवेन्यू पे। मैसाचुसेट्स एवेन्यू वॉशिंगटन DC में आप जाके देखिए तो बाहर 12 फुट की सरस्वती जी की मूर्ति लगी हुई है, इंडोनेशिया की एम्बेसी के बाहर, विच इज द बिगेस्ट मुस्लिम कंट्री ऑफ द वर्ल्ड। और उसके नीचे 3 बच्चे पढ़ते हुए लगे हैं, बिकॉज दे कंसिडर दैट दिस सिंबलाइजेस देयर कल्चर। और फार्देस्ट वेस्ट पे जब हम जाते हैं, तो आप में से बहुत से लोगों ने शायद वो पता हो या ना पता हो, जब यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स बना था 1774 के आसपास, तो वो आज का USA नहीं था। वो बस न्यूयॉर्क, न्यू जर्सी, कनेक्टिकट आसपास का, जो पेंसिल्वेनिया के आसपास के इलाके तक की था 4-6 स्टेट। फिर धीरे धीरे सदर्न स्टेट्स मैक्सिको से आई, फिर वेस्ट सैन फ्रांसिस्को, लॉस एंजल्स बेल्ट तक वो लोग गए। अब ये बात है 19वीं सेंचुरी कि वेस्ट कोस्ट, यानी आज का जो सैन फ्रांसिस्को, लॉस एंजल्स वाला इलाका है, जिसको आज सिलिकॉन वैली यहाँ पे, वहां तक के लिए ट्रेन बनाई जा रही है। और अमेरिका इतना बड़ा कंट्री, वहां ट्रेन बनाने का खर्चा बहुत आ रहा था। तो यूएस कांग्रेस की प्रोसीडिंग्स में ये नोटेड है कि ये क्वेश्चन किया गया कि इतना हैवी इन्वेस्टमेंट उस ट्रेन के लिए क्यों करना है। तो रिप्लाई में वहां की गवर्नमेंट ने जानते क्या बोला कि ईस्ट साइड से यानी अटलांटिक और यूरोप की तरफ से अगर इंडिया से बिजनेस करना है तो उस पे इंग्लैंड का कब्जा है, तो इसलिए हमें वेस्ट साइड के सी रूट से इंडिया से बिजनेस करने में सहूलियत होगी इस ट्रेन के बन जाने से, और इंडिया से बिजनेस किए बगैर हमारी प्रॉस्पेरिटी नहीं आएगी। दैट्स व्हाई इन द यूएस कांग्रेस प्रोसीडिंग दिस प्रोजेक्ट इज कॉल्ड ट्रेन टू इंडिया। अब आप ये समझ लीजिए फारदेस्ट ईस्ट और फारदेस्ट वेस्ट तक इस कंट्री का इंपैक्ट कहां तक था, सिर्फ कल्चरल ही नहीं, फाइनेंशियल एस्पेक्ट पर भी। इसलिए मैं कहना चाहता हूं कि आप लोग ये समझिए कि हमें किस प्रकार के चीज को सर्व करने का मौका मिला है। यहां पे मैं एक और बात कहना चाहता हूं, ब्यूरोक्रेसी में ट्रांसफर्स होते हैं ना, सबसे एंशिएंट एग्जांपल ऑफ पीरियोडिक ब्यूरोक्रेटिक ट्रांसफर कहां पे आता है? मौर्यन एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में जब 3 एरियाज थे बड़े इंडिया में, तक्षशिला जो पाकिस्तान में चला गया, उज्जैन जो मध्य प्रदेश में है, और पाटलिपुत्र जो बिहार में, इन तीनों में छत्रपाल नियुक्त होते थे, लाइक द डिस्ट्रिक्ट मजिस्ट्रेट ऑफ द, एंड एवरी 3 years these Chhatrapals were transferred periodically. This is considered around 2300 years back the first example of the bureaucratic transfers in the world. अब यहां पर मैं एक और बात भी कहना चाहता हूं, जब मौर्यन एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन की बात आती है तो at the time when the officers were being selected, today the officers are selected on the basis of their intelligence and capability, but at the time along with intelligence the integrity was also tested, and that testing procedure was named as the word Upadha Pariksha. Today what happens, you have got enormous intelligence, that's why you got through to one of the most coveted exams of the country. पर यह भी ध्यान रखना होगा कि भगवान ने और देश ने आपको यदि इस पोजीशन पे बैठ के काम करने का मौका दिया है तो ये बहुत बड़ी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी भी है। और यहाँ एक बात मैं कहना चाहता हूं, चाणक्य ने अर्थशास्त्र में लिखा है कि सरकारी धन का विनिमय करने वाले अधिकारी यदि चाहे तो वो कभी भी धन का अपने हित में प्रयोग कर सकते हैं और चुपचाप ग्रहण कर सकते हैं। जैसे जल में रहने वाली मछली यदि चाहे तो चुपचाप पानी पी सकती है, उसको ना कोई चेक कर सकता है एक सर्टेन अमाउंट को, और ना ही कोई रोक सकता है। उसे रोकने का एक ही तरीका है कि वो मछली उस पानी को पीना न चाहे। इसका मतलब ये होता है कि वो एक इंटेग्रिटी, वो आपके अंदर की एक ऑस्टेरिटी ही उसको रोक सकती है। और ये भी ध्यान रखिए, देखिए मुझे कम आयु में गवर्नमेंट के अंदर इन्वॉल्व होने का मौका मिला, एंड विद ड्यू रिस्पेक्ट, नॉट डिनाउंसिंग एनीथिंग, मैं 3 यूनिवर्सिटीज में प्रोफेसर भी रहा, टीचिंग फैकल्टी भी रहा, ब्यूरोक्रेट से भी डील करने का मौका मिला। मैंने देखा ये वो सेक्शंस हैं जो सबसे पढ़े लिखे प्रबुद्ध कहलाए जाते हैं, फिर भी मैंने देखा इसमें बहुत सारी जगहों पे फैक्शनलिज्म, ग्रुपिज्म, रीजन, कास्ट के बेस के ऊपर होता है, एंड दैट is the process from where the first erosion in the moral authority starts and first compromise with the principle starts. और जब आप compromise with the principle करते हैं तो आप टेक्निकली चाहे बच जाएं, पर याद रखिए अब तो टेक्नोलॉजी भी आपको ये बताती है कि आप अपने मोबाइल में से अगर आपने कोई चीज डिलीट कर दी तो आपकी स्क्रीन से डिलीट हो गई है, पर हार्ड डिस्क में हमेशा सेव्ड है और कभी न कभी वो रिट्रीव होती है। वैसे ही याद रखिए कि आपने कोई भी कार्य किया है, दुनिया की नजर में वो डिलीट हो गया होगा, पर वो आपकी हार्ड डिस्क में सेव्ड है, और वो कर्म का ऋणानुबंध कभी न कभी चुकाना पड़ता ही है। जैसे बायोलॉजिकली शायद आप में से बहुत से लोगों को पता हो कि जो कुछ हम खाना खाते हैं ये हमारी बोन मैरो तक कितने दिन में पहुंचता है? 40 दिन में। तो आज हमारी बोन मैरो में जो है वो 40 दिन या इससे पहले के दिनों में जो खाया था वो है। हम में से किसी को याद नहीं होगा कि आज से 40 दिन पहले या 80 दिन पहले हमने क्या खाया था, बट इट इज देयर embedded with all its positive and negative impact. So is the case in your device So is the case in your consciousness. So we have to be very logical, scientific in our approach, along with dedication to the country and dedication to the society, because God has been kind enough to provide you this opportunity. क्योंकि मैं ये भी कह दूं कि अगर मान लीजिए पूरे देश में लाखों लोग बैठते हैं and few hundreds are selected, तो ये भी आप समझ लीजिए कि ये नहीं कहा जा सकता कि by any parameters these 500, 600 or even for precisely for IS 40, 50, 60 are selected. By any parameter they were much better than those lakhs which had been left. कैपेबिलिटी भी थी, कैपेबिलिटी बहुत से लोगों में थी, उस सिलेक्शन में कहीं ना कहीं आपके ऊपर भगवान की कृपा भी थी. इसलिए मैं ये कहना चाहता हूं कि ये अपॉर्चुनिटी मिली है, ये बेस था, और हम उस देश के हैं जिस देश के फंडामेंटल्स इतने डिफरेंट हैं. एंड फाइनली आई वुड लाइक टू से कि हम आज वर्ल्ड में एक नए स्वरूप में उभर कर सामने आ रहे हैं. जब हम ग्लोबलाइजेशन की बात करते हैं तो ग्लोबलाइजेशन का फॉर्म क्या होगा? वो फॉर्म होगा जो आज रशिया और यूक्रेन के बीच में हो रहा है, जो युद्ध हो रहा है, या वो फॉर्म होगा जो अमेरिका देता है कि पूरी दुनिया से कैसे भी पैसा एक्सट्रैक्ट करके हमारे पास लाओ, या वो फॉर्म होगा जो मार्क्सिज्म कहता है कि बस कैप्चर कर लो किसी तरीके से. हम इनमें से कोई भी फॉर्म नहीं. हमारा फॉर्म वो होगा जो हमने आपको बताया कि वो जो वसुधैव कुटुंबकम होता है. और ये हमने क्यों कहा? जो लोग आज हमको बड़े ह्यूमन राइट्स की नॉलेज की बात करते हैं, अभी डॉक्टर जगदीश गांधी बात कर रहे थे, उन्होंने रेफरेंस दिया ह्यूमन राइट्स का, ये तो वही है ना. जब ये अमेरिका में जाके उतरे तो रेड इंडियंस को फिजिकली फिनिश कर दिया. कहां है रेड इंडियंस? इनका माया स्टिक से फिजिकली फिनिश्ड. ऑस्ट्रेलिया में उतरे तो ओरिजिनल ट्राइब्स वर फिजिकली फिनिश्ड. And now they give us sermon that they are the champions of human rights. We are the true champions of the human rights. Because wherever we have gone, from Cambodia to Indonesia, the culture is there, the original people are there, the vibrancy is there, the knowledge is there, and nobody was eliminated. But those who have gone in the other countries, they have physically eliminated others. तो इसलिए वो ग्लोबलाइजेशन का एरा जिसको इंडिया लीड करेगा वो एकदम डिफरेंट होगा. उसमें ना हम कट थ्रोट कंपटीशन को भी आगे नहीं रखेंगे, क्योंकि व्यापार सबसे आगे नहीं रहेगा, वायलेंस सबसे आगे नहीं रहेगी, सबको साथ में लेके चलने की नेचर होगा. एंड फाइनली एक वर्ड कहता हूं, जानते हैं अंतर क्या होगा? बहुत सारे लोगों को लगता है हमारे यहाँ प्रॉब्लम क्या हो गई है कि दोज हु आर द सिंबल्स ऑफ द हाईएस्ट ह्यूमन वैल्यूज दे हैव बीन ब्रांडेड एज कम्युनल. इस समय अयोध्या में भगवान श्री राम का मंदिर बन रहा है. ये बताइए, इफ आई आस्क यू एनीवेयर इन द वर्ल्ड, पूरी दुनिया का इतिहास भरा पड़ा है उस उदाहरण से कि भाई भाई का गला काट के गद्दी पे बैठा और बेटा बाप को मारकर गद्दी पे बैठा. उसके कंट्रास्ट में वो एग्जाम्पल कि पिता के एक वचन पे सारा राजपाट छोड़कर वन चले जाना, और जिस भाई को राज मिला हो वो राज न लेकर जंगल में जाके अपने बड़े भाई की खड़ाऊ रखकर शासन करना. दोज हु आर नॉट हैविंग रिलीजियस फेथ इन दिस, जो भगवान ना भी मानते हैं, उनसे पूछ लीजिए, इवन इफ इन देयर वास्ट इमेजिनेशन, कैन एनीवेयर इन द वर्ल्ड यू कैन हैव मोर हायर एंड वैल्यूएबल ह्यूमन वैल्यूज देन दिस. सो दिस इज द एग्जाम्पल ऑफ हाईएस्ट ह्यूमन वैल्यूज which the mankind has ever exemplified in the documented history. So इसलिए मैं कहना चाहता हूं, जो आपको मौका मिला है इसमें आगे बढ़िए. देश के अंदर एक बड़ा परिवर्तन आ रहा है. हम लोग आगे बढ़कर दुनिया में एक नए कल्याण का मार्ग प्रशस्त करें. और जो जय जगत की बात कही गई है, अंत में वहीं पर समाप्त करता हूं. सबका कल्याण, किसी के खिलाफ नहीं, सबको साथ में लेकर संपूर्ण जगत का कल्याण करने के लिए ये वो धरती है जहां से सबसे पहले ज्ञान और सभ्यता का सूरज उगा था. कोई हम सराय नहीं थे कि सब आकर बसते जा रहे थे. जयशंकर प्रसाद जी की इस कविता से की एक पंक्ति से समाप्त करता हूं कि हम क्या थे, हिमालय के आंगन में प्रथम उसे किरणों का दे उपहार, उषा ने हंस अभिनंदन किया और पहनाया हीरक हार। जगे हम लगे जगाने विश्व लोक में फिर फैला आलोक। व्योम तम पुंज हुआ तब नष्ट निखिल संस्कृति हो उठी अशोक। विमल वाणी ने वीणा ली कमल कोमल कर में सप्रीत। सप्त स्वर सप्त सिंधु में जगे छिड़ा तब मधुर साम से। तो संपूर्ण विश्व में एक नया संगीत नया सृजन यहीं से आया था और पुनः हम वो सृजन लाएं अपने इस संस्थान की शिक्षाओं के अनुसार, संस्कृति की गौरवशाली परंपरा के अनुसार, श्रेष्ठतम मानवीय मूल्यों के अनुसार आगे बढ़कर समाज की सेवा करें। इन्हीं शुभकामनाओं के साथ मैं अपनी वाणी को विराम देता हूं। धन्यवाद, नमस्कार।
Thank you so much, sir,
for this wonderful speech. God bless you.
We are very honored that two of our alumni who just spoke to us passed out from CMS something like 40 years ago, or rather more than 40 years ago. Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi ji passed out way back, I believe in 1983, and His Excellency Mr. Gopal Bagley, he passed out way back in 1980. So you can imagine them carrying such good values of CMS, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam and Jai Jagat, for more than 40 years. And as Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi ji rightly said, it's in our bone marrows now. So we very warmly welcome all the illustrious alumni. We have just seen that Mr. Gyaneshwar Singh IPS and the Deputy Director General of Narcotics Control Bureau, Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India has joined us, and we welcome him. Ms. Ila Tripathi, she is also an IS and she qualified in 2017 from CMS Aliganj Campus 1. She is currently on central deputation and posted as Assistant Secretary in the Ministry of Finance. She has joined us. We also welcome Mr. Manoj Mishra, IRS, and he has joined us as well. Mr. Manoj Mishra is Joint Commissioner Income Tax, New Delhi. Mr. Subur Usmani, the Commissioner of Income Tax, Range 1, Government of India, who was posted in Mumbai, was also supposed to join us, but he's right now on a flight and he's been assigned some work, so he's unable to join, but he conveys his good wishes. And without taking much of your time, you will be happy to know that Her Excellency Ms. Apurva Srivastava, an official with the Government of India's Ministry of External Affairs, an IFS and Consul General, she has been awake. It's right now, I believe, close to 1:30 a.m. in Canada, and she's awake, and we welcome you, ma'am. She is a career diplomat, having joined Indian Foreign Service in 2001. Prior to her being appointed as India's Consul General in Toronto, she worked with the Ministry of External Affairs from January 2017 to August 2019. In a 19-year career as a career diplomat, she has served twice in the Indian Embassy in Paris from August 2003 to October 2006, and again from August 2012 to July 2015. In the Indian Embassy in Kathmandu from June 2009 to August 2012. And I invite her. And we also have the teacher guardian of Mr. Gyaneshwar Singh, Mrs. Vandana Gaur. So we'll be proceeding to other alumni soon. And we now invite Ms. Apurva Srivastava to say a few words to us.
Sorry for the interruption, please. Before Apurva ma'am says something, I just want to mention here that Ila Tripathi, she qualified the civil services in the year 2017, and at present she is the additional collector in Murugu district of Telangana. And you'll be happy to know, if I'm not wrong, Ila, I think your rank was 51st, 51.
Oh.
She got 51 rank that time in 2017, and we had called Kriti. Just now even Kriti was here, I could see her, but she told me that she's very, very busy because she's in office today, being the month of March. So Kriti she is at present the Deputy Commissioner, Central GST in Ahmedabad zone.
Right.
So I don't think Kriti is here now because she said it would be very difficult, though she was there some time ago. But a very warm welcome to Ila and all the others who are present here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So over to Ms. Apurva Srivastava, IFS and Consul General, Consulate of India in Toronto, Canada.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Chief guest, Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi ji, CMS founders, Dr. Jagdish Gandhi and Bharti Didi ji, President and MD, Professor Geeta Gandhi Kandan ji, Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Roshan Gandhi ji, respected seniors and friends from CMS. It is an absolute pleasure for me to join this second CMS Civil Service Conclave. It's a great humbling experience. Humbling as I see a galaxy of civil servants, stalwarts here, including my seniors. And it's also a very proud moment to see the stamp of CMS on this higher civil services of the country is so prominent. जैसा सुधांशु जी ने बताया कि मुझे भी नहीं पता था कि इतने लोग ऑलरेडी सिविल सर्विसेज में हैं. सुधांशु जी के बारे में मुझे पता चला कि वो भी सीएमएस हैं. गोपाल मेरे जो बहुत ही प्रिय सीनियर हैं, गोपाल जी, उनके बारे में भी पता चला कि वो भी सीएमएस से है. ये जो जब लिस्ट आई तो आई एम श्योर कि इस तरह की चीजें आप लोग और ऑर्गेनाइज करेंगे और हम लोगों को भी एक दूसरे से मिलने जुलने का मौका मिलेगा. As you know, Shishir has already said, I had joined the Mahanagar branch in 1982-83 and then later shifted to Joplin Road branch. Although I left CMS after class 5 as my father moved out on transfer, these 5 years, the first 5 years of my formal education, and perhaps the most influential as they were the early formative years, were crucial in shaping the course of my life, and I'm grateful for these formative years. I studied from class 1 to 5 from CMS. The academic and the extracurricular activities as CMS and the dedication of the brilliant teachers we have and the mentorship of the founders, Jagdish Gandhi ji and Bharti Di, I believe had helped set the foundation of my lifelong learning behavior and health. These experiences helped shape my personality and the capacity to learn, to get along with others, and to respond to daily stresses and the challenges. The morning prayers, you know, the way we interacted to each other, the way we went for practicing of the annual PT show, it was all, you know, the way we interacted with each other, this tarah ke competitions hote the, everything helped in, you know, forming the person I am today. I spent 5 wonderful years in CMS. The balance of academic and extracurricular activities, the early emphasis on the language and grammar, pronunciations पे जितना हमें emphasis किया गया था उतना वो आज भी हमारे काम आता है. And the overall efforts towards the personality development of children at CMS has helped me in developing my self-confidence and discipline. The extremely high academic standards were definitely there, but CMS has a long tradition in developing an international awareness among its students. Various programs, competitions, lectures, and activities at CMS were aimed at building this awareness in all the students. The motto of Jai Jagat that derives from the ancient philosophy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam has a great impact on me. The global awareness from an early age, the exposure to different cultures prepares the mind to tolerance at almost subconscious level. The experience as a child at CMS has certainly helped in opening my mind and embracing the differences, and which in turn has helped me immensely in my diplomatic career in dealing with different cultures. You know, I was, before coming here, I was just going through my pictures from CMS, and I saw myself dressed up in a Japanese kimono, in a can dress, and in Indonesian dress. So at that point of time, you know, exposing us to that kind of cultural things, it was really, really great. I think the biggest difference that CMS has made in my childhood is you know, appreciating the cultural differences, and I hope in continuing to make it in every child that passes through CMS portal. The development of mental faculty, mental faculty to accept and enjoy different thoughts without prejudice, to judge every thought on its merit, and to accept a different point of view, to have empathy for others is perhaps the single most important function of a school of education. It's needed now more than ever, as we live in a time when we are bombarded with vast amount of information every second. The CMS creed of good education for good humans, a 21st century education that both broader and bolder, and is still geared towards developing its universal value, global understanding, a spirit of service to the world, leadership, and an attitude of excellence is what makes CMS education valuable. My role as a diplomat, as I represent India to the world, the lessons learned at CMS has been of tremendous value. I'm a proud Indian, a proud Lucknowite, and a proud member of CMS family. But I'm also aware that I'm a member of the world, a realization that was germinated and nurtured early on in CMS. As I'm joining you all from a still very cold and snowy Canada, it's -10 outside, degrees outside, and well past 2:30 a.m. here. But I had to join this. I put an alarm and I had to join this illustrious gathering today. It has been pleasure listening to my seniors. This forum allows us to connect and reminisce together, renewing our inspiration and bonds with the school. I wish all present the very best and thank the organizers once again for giving us this opportunity to interact. Jai Jagat.
If I may, Shishir, is it okay if I say a few words? Yeah. Because I know that Purva Shrivastava will need to leave. I suspect that because it's 2:30 in the morning in Toronto. Before you leave, I wanted to say something. Shishir, is it okay if I say a few words now?
Yes, please, ma'am.
Thank you so much. So, I wanted to pick up on a few of the threads that the very distinguished alumni of CMS who have spoken so far have spoken about. I wanted to say in particular that, I think the school taught you, and I'm also a CMS alumna. I was in the CMS Station Road campus first, and then I was in the Hazratganj campus of CMS. Later on, I went on to study abroad. I was at London School of Economics for an undergrad, and then at University of Oxford for a master's, and then a DPhil. But like if I was to pick out the things that were really important that our school taught us, was the big ideas. And I wanted to pick up on what Honorable Mr. Gopal Bagley ji said, which is that CMS was quite unique in distinguishing education from exams. The traditional conception of education has been and continues to be worldwide that it's a place where education is imparted, that where learning is imparted, typically knowledge of facts, unfortunately. But it's not really it's not central, it's not key that it's a place where values are also imparted. So I think that's the major difference, that we talked about big ideas. Now, even though we were children, there was no there was no concession made to the fact that we were children. Big ideas that were typically the preserve of adults, we were exposed to those ideas, right? So talk about Jai Jagat to young children who hardly have a concept of Jagat at that time, at the age of 3 and 5 and 7, but making them aware that we are citizens of, the Jagat as a whole. So making us aware of that. So that was a big idea, and I think as you borne testimony to the fact that these ideas are the ones that then have become quite internalized and have ended up having quite a lot of influence on our lives, even though at the time that we were exposed to them as children, we didn't necessarily understand how they were influencing us. So I think that's the other thing. Then the other thing I remember my father always talked about, which you will remember from his talks, children, you must develop the power of your pen. You remember that? That, he would hold up a pen and he would say, you have to develop the power of your pen. And I mean, in this particular company, I think I can say safely that you are definitely people who develop the powers of your pen, and you really fulfilled the dreams of the founders of your school in a very significant and substantive way. The other thing was that, CMS gave us as young children large platforms, thinking big in terms of, for example, international exposure, like Apurva ji just said, regarding, this thing about, dressing up as an Indonesian or as a Japanese child and so on and so forth. So really blowing open the mind to the existence of a world beyond what we see around us. The fact that there is a world beyond, that it's so wonderful, it's weird, it's different, it's exciting, and that the people there are fairly, they have the same emotions and same feelings as us. That realization at a very young age, as you said, helped you to still helps you still to consider yourself a citizen of the world. Now here, I just want to say one last thing, if I may, and that is that, this school started in 1959 with the motto of Jai Jagat, which Gopal Bagley ji and Honorable Sudhanshu Trivedi ji also alluded to. So this idea of Jai Jagat, the founding motto of the school, right? This huge, big idea. Now, at that time, it would have seemed quite alien. It would have seemed quite out of its time because nobody else was talking about it, right? But today, we see the relevance of this idea. We see the urgent necessity of this idea. We called it World Unity Education. As Gopal Bagley ji said, we were doing all religion prayers, right? But, in a subtle and beautiful way, we learned about these that diversity is to be embraced, that empathy is important. All these things that we today call global values, these were taught to us, and we called it World Unity Education, but today it's called Global Citizenship Education. If you look at SDG 4, the Sustainable Development Goal 4 on education, one of its 7 indicators is that every school in the world will teach global citizenship. And we were already doing that. For 63 years, we've been doing that. And so that was really very, very special. The fact that the rest of the world has caught up with the idea that this school existed for in terms of imparting values. Of course, as Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi ji said, academic education was excellent, and it's excellent in many schools. And it's also excellent here, and we strain every nerve to give, to develop both outer and inner perfections in children. But the main thing was these big ideas, and I think that is what makes a person great. When they're exposed to great ideas, noble ideas, and they may help us to become self-motivated agents of social transformation. And that is the difference I feel, of a CMS education. And I'll tell you one thing more, as an alumna of CMS, rather than as the daughter of the founders of this school. And that is that, in around 2008, I'm a university professor at University College London at UCL, and I'm an economist. My parents said to me that, we're getting elderly, we want you to come to India, we want you to help us run the school. We know that you'll run it with the values with which we have run it, rather than it going into other hands and, it may begin to be run for profit or for whatever. We wanted to continue with the same values. And, my life was in England. I've lived there for 31 years. My husband is English. My son has never, ever lived in India. And yet, when they asked for about 2.5 years, I couldn't say no. And I went down to working part-time at UCL. I still do work part-time for them, but remotely 100%. And, I shifted to Lucknow. So I think the reason why I shifted, of course, it's partly because my parents asked, and largely I suspect it's because my parents asked, but honestly, it was also because I'd grown up with these ideas of service to the world. Like Apurva ji just said, she talked about excellence in all things, service to the world, those 4 pillars of CMS education you just mentioned. So, the service to the world. And I thought to myself, as a university professor, yes, I'm making, significant contributions to the world because what I do, I advise governments on education policy from an economics perspective, from an economic efficiency perspective. Not just Asian countries, but also in many African countries. I had PhD students from all over the world, and so on and so forth. So I was, doing policy advice for governments and, opinion influencing through opinion editorials and a whole range of things. But I decided that, look, this is a different way of service. I will be able to influence the lives of, thousands of children in a more direct way. So I saw it as an opportunity. It was quite a thing to move back from the UK to be in India full time and to be in Lucknow. It's not even a metropolitan city like Lucknow, like Delhi or Bangalore or Mumbai or so forth. But I made the change, and I think it is because I had a CMS education. So I'm really amazed to be sharing this platform with you and delighted that you've made time. I just know how busy you people are throughout the week. So to take a Sunday, such a substantial part of your Sunday to give to this thing is amazing for me. Thank you so much for being part of it. And when we write about it in our alumni newsletter, you won't believe the excitement among the other CMS alumni throughout the world. They will love it. And they will feel so excited about it. Moreover, the current crop of CMS children, your juniors, we've got about 55,000 students, friends. I don't know how many there were at the time that you were students here, but you'd be so thrilled to know that there's 55,000 students here now. And you see, they have a choice and they come, and this year, the admissions are just so mammoth. The number of people, number of children seeking admissions, you'll be so happy to know, is so many thousands. We just don't have space, in many of our campuses, the situation is that we don't have space and we're having to, and very unfortunately, turn so many children down. So you'll be so happy. You'll also be so happy if you learn about what are the directions of travel that CMS is going down at the moment. The reform that is happening at CMS at the moment. For example, we all know that imparting knowledge is not the thing anymore. It has to be the creation of skills. So this is a major, major reform agenda at CMS, a pedagogical reform agenda, which involves training of teachers to deliver on this new, thing that we need, that in order to negotiate today's world successfully, in which AI is changing the nature of jobs and, causing all manner of change in the world, where climate change is looming large in all our lives and its impacts have to be contained. So in such a world, we need not just people who know facts, which can be gathered through a Google search anyway. We need people that machines can do. So we don't need to make our human beings who have so much enormous capacity, we don't need to just impart facts to them. That is treating them very shabbily. They can learn skills. They can learn skills of analysis, application of knowledge, problem solving, collaboration, communication. These are the skills that we need in today's education. So you'd be so happy to know that today we have a Vision 2025 in CMS in which all our principals are actively engaged, and Jyoti ma'am is one of our principals. She's the principal of Aliganj campus. Some of her former students are here. So this is what we are engaged in at the moment. One could say so much more, but I'll just stop there. Thank you so much for being here with us.
And thank you, Ms. Apurva Srivastava, for being with us and being awake so late in the night. Thank you, Geeta ma'am, for enlightening us with what your experience as a CMS alumni have been, and being the daughter, and as well as having a global experience. And without delaying it further, because Mr. Gupta also has to leave, I now invite another illustrious alumni of CMS, Mr. Prakash Gupta, who was born in 1978, December 27th. He's a pass out of CMS Station Road campus, studied from 1982 to 1996. Is currently serving as Joint Secretary Summits and UN Affairs at the Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India in New Delhi. Earlier, he also served as the first Secretary of the Indian Permanent Mission to the United Nations in New York, wherein he made sure that more than 150 countries endorse India's proposal to have International Day of Yoga being celebrated on June 21st. Mr. Gupta qualified for civil services in 2002, and after completing his master's in English literature with a gold medal, a record, I believe, yet unbroken, he was promoted as the Consul General of India after his engagement at the UN, Consul General of India at Shanghai in China, and before joining here as Joint Secretary back here in India, he was serving as the Deputy Chief of Mission of India to Indonesia at the Indian High Commission in Jakarta. So over to our one of the most illustrious alumni as well, Mr. Prakash Gupta, to share his experiences, how CMS education has been helping him in taking his career forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shishir. I hope I am audible at that end. Thank you for this introduction.
Yes, very much.
At the outset, let me thank the entire CMS family for inviting me to this event and organizing this. I know for a fact that the CMS fraternity in the civil service constituency is perhaps way larger than what we have perhaps available on screen today. Even within the Ministry of External Affairs, I do know for sure that there are many members of the CMS family who are still straddling various hotspots around the globe.
Prakash, if I may just give the statistics, since you raised that, in the last 10 years, 55 selections in the All India Civil Services from CMS. I mean, that's the number that we know of. It could be a little more, but those who have let us know.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm also particularly pleased to see Apurva awake at 3 a.m. in the night across the globe at the other end, and also enriched by my senior Gopal sir's remarks. I think the essence of what I was about to speak has already been captured by what he has said. But the very fact that Shishir mentioned, we have an alumni who left City Montessori School in 1980. And I believe we have an alumni who is as late a pass out of 2017 Civil Services batch. Now, the fact that at a request of a school, we have been able to bring in generations 50 years apart together on this screen is just a testimony to the affection, love, bonding we have for our alma mater. And these numbers will only grow as time passes. I have no hesitation in acknowledging upfront that between Gandhiji and Bharati ma'am, what has been created in Lucknow is not just an unparalleled educational institution, but perhaps one of the largest, well-knit, well-bonded families across the globe. I have traveled all over like my other senior colleagues, but this family of the City Montessori School, which I can see in Nairobi, in Toronto, in Jakarta, in Beijing, in Seoul, across the globe, who still rever the school's memories with so much affection, is indeed wonderful and good to reconnect, therefore, today. In my own case, I had joined City Montessori School in 1982, Station Road branch, and I left the school in 1996, Station Road branch. I think that was the first campus that the CMS had started. So my memory, in a sense, straddles the best 14 years of my life. It was the most enjoyable period, the most inspirational period. As Charles Dickens had once said, we had the best of times and the worst of times, but perhaps it's a period that has stayed till date as something that I'm still willing to bargain anything for and go back to. What stands me out if I look at how CMS has influenced us and what would be different in case of City Montessori School as an educational institution, in my view, are perhaps 4 things which I'd like to bring to your attention, has been pointed out by some of our senior colleagues. You see, education, knowledge, these are things which, in my view, primarily all educational institutes are meant for. You are supposed to get that in schools and colleges and wherever we do our initial exposure. But for me, what makes CMS very unique is its hardcore emphasis on imparting value systems right from the smallest class, grade nursery, grade KG, grade 1. And that's what, in my view, makes it very distinct from the rest of the educational institutes that I have seen or run into. To have shaped the moral fabric of an individual from that very period and from the early 70s till date is something very special, very unique, and in my view, some of the greatest takeaways that I would carry as an individual in my life. I remember Gandhiji in the early 80s in the Assembly Hall, lecturing to us, speaking to us on the values of the 4 pillars of education, of what he called it as knowledge, wisdom, spiritual perception, and eloquent speech. At that time, as young kids standing for about 40 minutes in the line, it didn't register then. But as one gradually got exposed to all the 4 pillars in detail, I can for sure say that spiritual perception part, to me perhaps, is very, very different, and perhaps the best part of the schooling experience. Because now in our own professional lives, when we come to conflicts, when I say conflicts where judgments are involved, both in decision-making on files or otherwise, if that spiritual perception part has made our moral fabric how it is supposed to be, I think that's what counts in the ultimate decision-making. So I would first say that kudos to ingraining us with those 4 values, in particular the spiritual perception part, which I would say should stay with each individual as long as we are here. The second takeaway for me, perhaps also an immemorable experience stays till date, is its sheer exceptional caliber of teachers and faculty members which City Montessori School had. Again, from the early 80s till at least I passed out, and it stands the test of time. To me, they didn't just teach us subjects or theorems or what was written in the books. To me, it went way beyond it. I was fortunate to have teachers who could counsel us when we were in the deepest throes of life problems, as it were, who would mentor us more as friends, and who would guide us to see things beyond the immediate struggle for marks. And that, to me, is one of the biggest takeaways, because it helps bring a lot of balance in the way we approach life. I have my own two particular examples, which I always like to cite. I was a very, very bad struggler at organic chemistry, used to fail miserably. I remember my class 12th years, in which from the first exam, I started at 27 out of 100, came to 17 out of 100 in the second one, and lastly, I got 7 out of 100. And in that descending order of marks of the chemistry, it was one of my teachers in City Montessori School who took me out for an outing and gave me a counseling that stays till date. Were it not for that counseling, I wouldn't have got in my final class 12th 97 marks if he had not given me that pep talk to look at the subject in a different manner. The second incident that I would like to cite is Ma'am Bharti Gandhi's role in helping me speak the language that I'm speaking. I still vividly remember that my father, because of whatever his best judgment was at that point of time, had put me in the Hindi medium section of school. And it was one fine day that Bharti ma'am persuaded my father. She walked into the school, she picked me up literally by hand from KG and took me and made me sit in the English medium section. And I thought what she believed in me at that point of time was perhaps way more than what even my close circle of family members didn't have that much confidence in me. And were it not for her, I wouldn't have studied in the English medium section of it. So I was really blessed to have such an exceptional group of teachers, mentors, and believers in the innate ability of kids to excel. And my deepest gratitude to the school for the same. The third, which I think has been elaborated upon by my seniors as well, is undoubtedly the level of exposure that we got in the 90s in an educational institute in a city of Lucknow, of the international competitions, the international events that we were made to participate in, be it COFAs, be it CISV camps, or be it other prayer ceremonies. Those days, it might have seemed a struggle, but were it not for that exposure at that stage, I can certainly say that it would have been very difficult to cope in the professional life situations that we find ourselves now. I do also would like to acknowledge Dr. Jagdish Gandhi ji. He somehow thought that I should go to Singapore in 1995 to speak as a delegate in a UNESCO conference in Singapore. I didn't have the money then, I didn't have the means then, and it was my first international flight from Delhi to Singapore that made me reach there, speak, and see what an international multilateral exposure is like. I also had my first pizza in life then in Singapore, thanks to my principal, who was accompanying me. So it was illuminating both on the learning part and the culinary part as well. But having said that, the point I wanted to say is, look, were it not for that exposure at that age of 1990, I think I was 15, 16 or something, what the international stage expects of an Indian delegate at an international platform, I wouldn't have understood or comprehended in totality. So thereafter, when I went to work at the Indian mission to the UN, there was a sense of a deja vu. It was an experience for about close to 4 years. Even today, in my professional capacity, when I look after the United Nations political division, including crafting some of India's statements at the UN Security Council or the United Nations General Assembly, the experience of the formative years certainly holds us in good stead. And I really owe a great deal to that fostering of a truly global outlook at that stage through the exposure that we got at the various international schools and competitions from. The aspect of camaraderie and communication, as Gopal sir had highlighted, is something that came to the fore in the CMS years and stayed with us till date. The last thing, perhaps, which I would like to highlight in my intervention is I would hardly remember of any school or institution which still stays in touch with students who have left school 40, 50 years back. I don't know, it may be done, but the effort being put behind getting the fraternity of alumni together is also unique, exceptional, and must be acknowledged. In my own case, I do know for sure that it's not just in the professional field that the institution has remained in touch. It has been in touch when even on the personal front in Lucknow, I have been in troubles at time and the school has been there to help us. I must acknowledge that it goes back to my initial argument of the institute being a family which stands not only just in the best of times, but also in the worst of times by each and every one of its students that had passed out. I think City Montessori School was one of the best things to have happened to me in my life. I hope we in our professional areas of work or how we conduct ourselves as individuals continue to live up to the expectations that the CMS has had of us. I'd just like to conclude by saying, again, a big sense of gratitude and thanks to Gandhiji and Bharti ma'am. Who would have thought that 63 years ago, a journey that was started with 5 kids would go down the line to 55,000 kids as the largest educational institution in the world in the Guinness Book of World Record, with a value system that in my view straddles all the continents in the world, and with alumni present all over who are still willing to swear by what they had received in City Montessori School. So kudos to you. My identity, irrespective of how we fare up in our professional careers, will always remain to be an ex-CMS student, which I always proudly proclaim. And thank you for getting this fraternity together. Thank you. Have a good day.
May I ask who was your principal that time?
Ma'am, Batra ma'am from CMS.
Oh, she is still there.
Was my principal for the entire 14 years. She moved thereafter to, I think, the Gomti Nagar branch in 95. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Prakash Gupta ji. We would like to thank Mr. Prakash Gupta, and also we would like to thank His Excellency Mr. Gopal Bagley ji for joining us. And before I am formally thanking them, I would also, because this is the middle of the session, we have got 4 more speakers to go. Ms. Nehagiri, IAS, Mr. Gyaneshwar Singh, Mr. Deepak Mishra, and also Mr. Ahmed Hassan. I would like to invite our founders, Dr. Jagdish Gandhi ji, Dr. Bharti Gandhi ji, and Geeta ma'am to say a few words because Mr. Gopal Bagley ji and Mr. Prakash Gupta ji would like to leave from now on. Thank you.
I've already said my piece, so thank you very much.
मैं बहुत बधाई देना चाहता हूँ हमारे illustrious alumni जो CMS के हैं, जिन्होंने हमारे विद्यालय का नाम सारे दुनिया में रोशन किया। मिस्टर बागले आज हमारे हाई कमिश्नर हैं इंडिया के श्रीलंका में। हमारे प्रकाश गुप्ता जी, जिन्होंने सारे दुनिया में समिट्स होती हैं, बड़ी बड़ी वर्ल्ड समिट्स, उनको ऑर्गेनाइज करने के आप उसको ऑर्गेनाइज करते हैं ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया। तो ये इतनी बड़ी बड़ी उपलब्धियां हमारे स्टूडेंट्स कर रहे हैं, ऐसा हमने कभी सोचा नहीं था। स्कूल जब खोला था तो एक मॉन्टेसरी स्कूल था, लेकिन धीरे धीरे करके ये इंटरमीडिएट तक होता गया। और प्रकाश गुप्ता जी हमारे यहाँ मॉन्टेसरी से लेके इंटरमीडिएट तक पढ़े और ये इतनी प्रगति करे कि जब मैं अमेरिका में गया और ये इंडिया के टॉप मोस्ट व्यक्ति थे वहाँ पर इंडिया हाई कमीशन में, तो इनका रहन सहन बहुत सादा और किस तरह से इन्होंने मोदी जी की बड़ी बड़ी कॉन्फ्रेंसेस सारे अमेरिका में ऑर्गेनाइज की प्रकाश गुप्ता जी ने। तो ये इनकी ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल कैपेसिटी थी जो कि बहुत बड़ी बड़ी कॉन्फ्रेंसेस सब पूरे अमेरिका में इन्होंने मोदी जी के लिए ऑर्गेनाइज की थी और कितने बड़े बड़े काम किए हैं। तो हम प्रकाश गुप्ता जी को बधाई देते हैं और हमारे विद्यालय के सभी कार्यक्रमों में जब भी उनसे रिक्वेस्ट की जाती है वो कृपा करके ज्वाइन करते हैं। तो हम बहुत आभारी हैं। हमारे बीच में नेहा गिरी जी हैं जो उनकी प्रिंसिपल भी यहाँ बैठी हुई हैं, ज्योति कश्यप दीदी जी, पहले तो गौरी खन्ना जी थी और नेहा गिरी जी CMD हैं राजस्थान में, वो भी हमारे बीच में है। ज्ञानेश्वर जी है हमारे बीच में, बागले साहब हैं, बहुत बड़ी हस्ती है। और हमारे बीच में अपूर्वा जी श्रीवास्तव जो कंसुलेट जनरल ऑफ इंडिया है कनाडा में, वो रात में आज इस समय कनाडा में बिल्कुल रात है और उस समय वो कनाडा में अटेंड कर रही हैं। तो हम बहुत बहुत आभारी हैं आप सबके जो इस कॉन्क्लेव को अटेंड कर रहे हैं और अपनी अपनी स्मृतियां हमको बता रहे हैं। अभी हम नेहा जी और ज्ञानेश्वर जी और तमाम लोगों से भी
हसन अहमद जी,
हाँ हसन मोहम्मद है, हसन अहमद है और तमाम हमारे
दीपक मिश्रा
बैठे सबसे सुनेंगे हम।
स्टेशन रोड के हैं।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद
I remember हसन
और बागले जी को और अपूर्वा जी को जो जल्दी छोड़ना चाहते हैं, उनको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
I want to tell you, ma'am, and Gandhi sir,
हमारे ऐसे बच्चे हो जाए जैसे हमारे आप सब हुए हैं और हमारा विश्व सरकार का सपना जो है जल्दी आ जाए और दुनिया में लेसर पीस एस्टेब्लिश हो जाए और उसके बाद मोस्ट ग्रेस असली सतयुग आएगा, चरित्र बदला हुआ होगा।
Jai Jagat everyone. Yeah. I'll just take one minute before my seniors depart from this August gathering. I am Hassan Ahmed. I passed out from CMS Station Road 1999. I'll just take a minute or so. So I wanted to tell you that I met Prakash Bhaiya about 3-4 months ago at the Ministry of External Affairs at New Delhi. I went to see him. And it was such a jubilant experience to reconnect to him after I was meeting him after nearly 22 years. And when I first met him, it was in 1993 when I vividly remember having met him when I returned from CISP camp Delhi, CISP camp Dallas, USA. Then he was my head boy. He was our school's head boy until 1996. And he was the only one who held that position of head boy, not only in his class 11th, but also in his class 12th. And he used to speak so eloquently, and that was so wonderful to hear him when he used to hold the mic, when Batra ma'am and Devki ma'am were the principals. And after he passed out in 1996, I once met him, and then when I met him again about 4 months ago, he was Joint Secretary, United Nations Affairs at MEA. I am still
Hassan, we can't hear you.
I really held him very high, and
now we can hear you.
Yeah. Okay, ma'am. So I just mentioned that it was Bharat Milap for me when I met Prakash Bhaiya. So he's leaving the gathering now. I wanted to tell him that I am his fan and he is one of my motivations to try civil services. So kindly do not forget that, Bhaiya, that your speech, your way of life, and the way you held conviction in the Indian civil services has been greatly motivating for me. I'm here. One of the prominent reasons is you, and obviously the foundation has been the CMS. Thank you so much. Nothing more. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hassan. Deeply humbled deeply humbled and touched. Let's stay in touch. I actually have a meeting which has been convened by the External Affairs Minister, for which I need to be there. Otherwise, I wouldn't have left this gathering for sure. Thank you.
No problem, Bhaiya. No problem, Bhaiya. Please carry on. Please carry on. Best wishes.
Go do the nice work, Minister of Defense.
External Affairs, yeah.
External Affairs. We need your services there.
Wonderful.
We would like to thank both the IFS officers who are leaving now, His Excellency Mr. Gopal Bagley and Mr. Prakash Gupta, for being with us through and through, right from the inception, right from the very start of this program. Thank you so much, and we are indeed grateful that you spared generously so much of your precious time. Thank you so much, and we look forward to staying in touch with you. I would now like to invite another illustrious alumni of CMS. And before that, I would like to take permission from Ms. Nehagiri, if she can allow, because her speech was supposed to be held, but Mr. Gyaneshwar Singh, IPS, has come up with a meeting. Ms. Nehagiri, can you please allow me to invite Mr. Gyaneshwar Singh before you, and immediately after that, we'll invite you. Is it okay? Okay, thank you so much. So I would now like to formally introduce Mr. Gyaneshwar Singh is an Indian Police Service officer of the 1999 batch in the Himachal cadre. He's the only IPS officer who has been judged as the best officer trainee at both the prestigious academies, that is at the Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration, Mussoorie, and at the Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel National Police Academy of Hyderabad. He is a pass out of CMS Station Road way back, as he informed me, in 1983, where Ma'am Batra was the principal, and Mrs. Vandagod, who is also with us at this forum, she was his teacher guardian. He came from very humble beginnings, but he worked very hard on himself and proved his mettle by qualifying for the Indian Administrative Service Officer in the Civil Services exams, and he qualified for the IPS. He has held very important positions, just to mention a few of them, as IGP Intelligence of the Himachal Pradesh State, as DIG Security and DIG Intelligence of Himachal Pradesh, as the Inspector General of Police of Crime Branch, Himachal Pradesh, before coming to this very important deputation to Government of India from 5th October 2021, where it is currently the Deputy Director General, Northern Region of Narcotics Control Bureau, and is supervising 5 NCB zones spread over Jammu Kashmir, Punjab, Haryana, Himachal, Chandigarh, NCR, Uttarakhand, Rajasthan, and our state, Uttar Pradesh. And before I invite him to speak, he also has a very good proposal for CMS students, because these days children are getting addicted to drugs. So he's on a social mission as well to inform, educate, and let the children know that it's a very harmful thing for them. So over to Mr. Gyaneshwar Singh, IPS. Thank you.
You're muted.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sirish, for your kind words. Jai Jagat, Shraddhe Dr. Jagdish Gandhi ji, Bharti ma'am, Geeta ma'am, Batra ma'am, मेरी टीचर गार्जियन वंदना गौड़ मैम, डॉक्टर सुधांशु त्रिवेदी मेरे सीनियर, और मेरे जितने भी साथी यहाँ पे आज मौजूद हैं। आज एक बार फिर सीएमएस परिवार से मुखातिब होके बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है। मैं स्टेशन रोड का विद्यार्थी रहा हूं और लखनऊ आने के बाद जब मुझे सीएमएस में दाखिला मिला, वहां की जो शिक्षा पद्धति थी, जैसे मेरे आने से पहले वाले स्पीकर्स ने सभी ने बोला और बहुत ही अच्छी तरीके से बात रखी, मिस्टर गुप्ता ने, अपूर्वा ने और सुधांशु सर ने, मैं उसी बात को आगे बढ़ाते हुए कहना चाहता हूं कि शायद उस समय हम लोगों को वो अनुभूति नहीं हुई कि शिक्षा के मायने क्या हैं, जो पद्धति सीएमएस में अपनाई जा रही है उसके परिणाम क्या होंगे। लेकिन आज जब हम पलट के अपने अंदर झांकते हैं और देखते हैं तो मुझे लगता है कि विभिन्न दर्शनों और विचारकों द्वारा कही गई बातों में जो अपनी प्राचीन भारत में शिक्षा की पद्धति थी, उसी मॉडल पर सीएमएस में बच्चों को शिक्षा दी जाती है। ऋग्वेद में कहा गया है कि शिक्षा वो है जो मनुष्य को आत्मनिर्भर और निस्वार्थ बनाती है। विष्णु पुराण सा विद्या या मुक्यते, विद्या वह है जो बंधनों से मुक्ति प्रदान करे, सारे दुर्गुणों को दूर करे, ज्ञान मूल्य कौशल का रसपान कराए और सारे गुणों से व्यक्ति को निहित करे। स्वामी विवेकानंद ने भी यही बोला कि मनुष्य में अंतर्निहित पूर्णता को अभिव्यक्त करना ही शिक्षा है। महात्मा गांधी के विजन में शिक्षा से मेरा अभिप्राय बालक के शरीर, मस्तिष्क या आत्मा के सर्वांगीण एवं सर्वोत्तम विकास से है। इन सारी चीजों को आप सीएमएस के एजुकेशन में पाते हैं। यही सीएमएस को बाकी स्कूलों से भिन्न बनाता है। उन सारे पिलर्स की बात हम लोगों ने की, यूनिवर्सल वैल्यूज की बात की, ग्लोबल अंडरस्टैंडिंग, एक जो वैश्विक शिक्षा की बात, जो मूल्य यहां से हम लोग लेकर गए, वो कहीं ना कहीं परिलक्षित होता रहा हमारे कर्मों में, हमारी सर्विसेज के दौरान। जैसा कि जब हमने सिविल सेवा हम लोगों ने ज्वाइन की, तो पहले ये पुलिस सर्विस आईपी होती थी, इंडियन पुलिस। 1947 के बाद इसको चेंज करके आईपीएस किया गया, इंडियन पुलिस सर्विस। तो सर्विस का जो वर्ड जोड़ा गया और जब ये मूल्य हमें सिखाए गए एकेडमी में, तो मुझे वो बातें याद आई जब हम सीएमएस में सर्विस टू द वर्ल्ड की बात करते थे। हम लोग सिविल सेवा में हैं, मेरे साथी, हम लोग डिफरेंट कार्डर्स में जाते हैं, डिफरेंट जगहों पे सर्व करते हैं। इंडिया भी अपने आप में एक इतना बड़ा देश है जिसमें से कई सारे कल्चर्स और कई सारे विभिन्न विभिन्न प्रकार के लोग जिनको हम सेवा प्रदान करते हैं। अगर ये अवधारणा हमारे अंदर शुरू से विकसित नहीं होती, ये यूनिवर्सल वैल्यूज नहीं होती, तो शायद हमारी सर्विसेज में वो क्वालिटी नहीं आती। मैं सीएमएस का सबसे महत्वपूर्ण योगदान इन मूल्यों को विकसित करने में मानता हूं, क्योंकि विद्या पारलौकिक और लौकिक दोनों चीजों के लिए होती है। इसकी समझ शायद बच्चे को नहीं होती है, वो अब हमें आती है। शायद अब हम जब पेरेंट्स बने हैं तो हमें लगता है कि बच्चों को मूल्यों के लिए कितना आवश्यक है उनको इसका ज्ञान होना, और कैसे धीरे धीरे उनकी जड़ों में ये चीजें डाली जाती हैं स्कूल के द्वारा। स्कूल वो पहला मंदिर होता है, वो पहला संस्थान होता है जहां ये बच्चा ये सारे मूल्य सीखता है। तो मैं बहुत बहुत आभारी हूं सीएमएस का, डॉक्टर गांधी का, सारे परिवार का, कि ये मूल्य हम बच्चों में उन लोगों ने शुरू से देखे, एंड प्रोबेबली दे वर अहेड ऑफ टाइम्स, जैसा कि एक स्पीकर ने पहले बोला। तो ये बहुत ही अलग चीज है और मुझे खुशी है कि मैं उस परिवार का हिस्सा हूं और आगे भी ये कंटिन्यू होगा। जब भी सीएमएस की बात होती है, चाहे मॉर्निंग प्रेयर्स हो, चाहे रविंद्रालय में हो रहे विभिन्न कार्यक्रम हो, चाहे टेबल्यू हो, इन सब चीजों की यादें ताजा हो जाती हैं। और सीएमएस स्टेशन रोड से ही वंदना मैम, जो कि मेरी टीचर गार्जियन थी, उनकी विशेष मेहनत थी मुझे ऑल इंडिया रेजिडेंशियल मेरिट स्कॉलरशिप के लिए तैयार करने के लिए। मिसेस बत्रा का भी पर्सनल सुपरविजन रहा, जिनके प्रयासों से मैं स्कॉलरशिप लेके फिर आगे की पढ़ाई मैंने पटियाला में की। तो एक तरीके से मेरी जिंदगी बदलने का जो फाउंडेशन था वो सीएमएस में ले किया गया। तो मैं एक बार फिर इस फोरम से भी आभार व्यक्त करना चाहूंगा वंदना मैम का और मैम बत्रा का और सभी सीनियर्स का। बहुत ज्यादा वक्त ना लेते हुए मैं शिशिर से सुबह चर्चा कर रहा था और डॉक्टर गांधी से निवेदन करूंगा, हमारी 55,000 छात्रों की फैमिली है। सर, मैं इस समय एक बहुत चुनौतीपूर्ण पद पर हूं, जहां पे एक युद्ध नशे के विरुद्ध हम लोगों ने छेड़ रखा है, जहां हम चाहते हैं बच्चे नशे के विरोध में से यस टू लाइफ एंड नो टू ड्रग्स, इस भावना से हम बच्चों को परिचित कराना चाहते हैं। गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने एक ई प्लेज का पोर्टल बना रखा है, जिसमें हम कोशिश करते हैं कि स्कूल के बच्चों को, कॉलेज के, फैमिलीज को, जितने भी लोग शामिल हो सकें, एक प्लेज के माध्यम से एक विचार उनके अंदर पनपे। तो सर अगर आप परमिशन देंगे तो मैं शिशिर से कोऑर्डिनेट करके समवेयर बिटवीन अप्रैल में जब कन्वीनियंट होगा, स्कूल खुल जाएंगे, तो ई प्लेज पे कार्यक्रम करना चाहूंगा। और मैं चाहता हूं कि मेरा स्कूल एक प्लेटफॉर्म बने, एक फोरम बने, जहां से हम यूपी और बाकी पार्ट्स ऑफ नॉर्थ इंडिया, इंडिया के लोगों में, विदेश में भी ये मैसेज दें। और नशे के विरुद्ध एक जो मास अवेयरनेस कैंपेन है, उसको मैं अपने उत्तर भारत में लखनऊ से सीएमएस के पोर्टल से लॉन्च करना चाहता हूं। मुझे बहुत खुशी होगी अगर मैं स्कूल की तरफ से कर सकूंगा, तो मुझे इसकी परमिशन मिले, मैं ये निवेदन करूंगा। और एक बार फिर आप सभी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, मेरे जीवन को बनाने के लिए, जीवन में उन मूल्यों को देने के लिए और परिवार में जोड़ने के लिए। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
वेरी गुड, थैंक यू।
आप जैसा विद्यार्थी बना के हम धन्य हो गए।
थैंक यू मैम।
Thank you. So, continuing this session further, firstly, we would like to thank Mr. Gyaneshwar Singh for, being with us through and through, and he was also with us for more than 1.5 hours, waiting for his turn to arrive. And we are thankful that he has proposed that he would like to start the e-pledge campaign from City Monastery School, Lucknow. So the management will consider, and we'll get back to you on that. I would now like to invite Mrs. Vandana Gaur, if she is here. You can unmute yourself because you have been the teacher guardian of Mr. Gyaneshwar Singh. Perhaps you'd like to say something to him. Yes, she is here. Yes, we can hear you.
Actually, today I am little unwell, but ज्ञानेश्वर हैज मेड माय डे। और बहुत अच्छा लगा कि ज्ञानेश्वर ने इतना अच्छा बोला। वो बहुत बड़े आईपीएस ऑफिसर होंगे, लेकिन आज भी हम उसके रूप में एक छोटा बच्चा देख सकते हैं जो हमारा बहुत ही प्रिय छात्र था। और हम बहुत फॉर्चुनेट हैं कि हम उसके टीचर गार्जियन थे। उसने हमेशा, जब एज ए स्टूडेंट भी हमेशा प्राउड फील कराया, और आज इतने बड़े पोस्ट पे बैठ के भी उसकी जो नम्रता है, जो हम्बलनेस है, वो हम सबको बहुत फख्र का अनुभव करा रही है। उसने सारे ग्रंथों की बातें करी और मैं बहुत इस हर पल उसको बेचती रहती हूँ, प्राउड टीचर गार्जियन ऑफ ज्ञानेश्वर। और आज मुझे बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है कि ज्ञानेश्वर इस मंच से हम सबको एड्रेस कर रहे हैं और मैं बहुत भाग्यशाली अनुभव कर रही हूँ। क्रेडिट गो टू सीएमएस, उन्होंने टीजी एक टीचर गार्जियन गुरु शिष्य परंपरा शुरू करी थी, जिससे हम अपने प्यारे प्यारे बच्चों के बहुत ही क्लोज कनेक्शन में थे और बहुत ही उस समय का टीचर गार्जियनशिप बहुत ही वैल्यू रखती थी, बहुत प्यार था। बहुत मुझे पता नहीं अब भी होगा, अब मैं टीचर गार्जियन नहीं हूँ किसी की, बट ज्ञानेश्वर, जितेंद्र सब हमारे बहुत प्यारे बच्चे थे। प्रकाश को भी मैं दिल से प्यार करती हूँ। सभी हमारे बच्चे बहुत प्रिय। शिशिर भी हमारे ओल्ड स्टूडेंट हैं जिनकी मैं टीचर गार्जियन नहीं लेकिन दीदी हूँ। थैंक यू। जय जगत ज्ञानेश्वर। गॉड ब्लेस यू।
Mr. Singh, you'd like to say something before you part?
Thank you so much, Vandana ma'am. And we are family, ma'am. If we can do anything for CMS, and my request would be that we should meet in smaller groups also, in physical meeting, probably sometime when we visit Lucknow, if Shishir can organize, we can exchange ideas how we can help the school and how school can be brought into various activities. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone.
Of inviting. Whenever you visit Lucknow, you have to come and meet Vandana and me and Shishir.
Right, ma'am, I'll do so.
No, Mr. Gandhi is feeling jealous. Why not him?
Thank you so much, ma'am.
तो आपका क्लोज कनेक्शन है लखनऊ से, बाराबंकी से।
And what about Miss Batra?
हाँ बिल्कुल, मिस बत्रा से तो मिलेंगे ही, उनके बिना तो संभव नहीं है। She was my first guru at CMS. Thank you दीदी for ज्ञानेश्वर कभी भी भूल ही नहीं सकते मैम बत्रा को। मैम बत्रा का तो मोटिवेशन हमेशा बहुत रहा है। थैंक यू ज्ञानेश्वर एंड थैंक यू शिशिर एंड बड़ी दीदी जी, गीता जी, रोशन भैया for organizing this type of events. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Now we invite Ms. Neha Giri, IAS. Ms. Neha Giri, she has been an alumna of CMS Aliganj campus, and now we call it CMS Elegant Campus 1. She qualified for the civil services, and currently she is serving as the chairman and managing director of the Rajasthan Handloom Corporation. We also had invited her sister, Ms. Sonali Giri, but she is currently attending a video conference by the Election Commission, and she is also an IAS officer. She's working as DC of Ropar district in Punjab. So both the sisters had qualified, and their father has been an illustrious IPS officer. I've been speaking to him off and on, and he wanted his daughters, both of them, to qualify for IAS, and they fulfilled his dream. So we are very proud of a daughter like Ms. Neha Giri, who has not only made City Montessori School proud, but also her parents proud by qualifying. And over to her. You may tell more about yourself and how you have made it to this career, and how CMS education helped you in reaching where you are today. Thank you so much.
Aliganj, and the principal of Aliganj, Jyoti Kashyap Didi, is also here.
Sir, dearest Gandhi sir, Bharti ma'am, Geeta madam, esteemed alumnus of CMS, principals and teachers. It's been 20 years. Lagta nahi hai sir, but I just counted that how many years have been that I've passed out, but it seems that the numbers, they add up to exactly 20 years have been there that I passed out from CMS. And I would say, sir, that it says that human body is made of 65% of water. So if I calculate my education, I have done before coming to CMS some 3 years of kindergarten somewhere else. 12 years of my schooling has been from CMS, and then obviously 4 years of my engineering. So I'm in out and out CMS person and a CMS product, that my foundation is strongly based on the values that have been imbibed in me and throughout the process of, I would say it's a process, because it's not only teaching is done there. It's not only that you're gaining some knowledge about some subjects. It's totally a process where a small kid and going through his or her teenage years and acquiring some sort of basic ideas about what the word that comes after school will be like, and how to actually be successful and be more humane, be kind to people. So it's totally a very beautiful process, I would say. And as the alumnus before me, they have elaborated on many points in the ways that the CMS has helped them, in fact made them what they are today. I would also dwell briefly on those points. First of all, I would say that I have attended 2 actually branches. From class 1 to class 5th, I was in Aliganj Sector B branch, and then from 6th onwards, I was to 12th, I was in Sector O branch. And my principal was Gopal ma'am at one time, Madam Gopal. Vividly remember her. I don't know where she is right now. And then Gauri Khanna ma'am had been my principal. And lots of teachers' names come into my mind. My teacher guardian was Veena Tyagi ma'am, and there was Seema Chakravarti ma'am, Lipika ma'am, and Prerna Mitra ma'am. So they're wonderful teachers, I would say. Everybody who has taught me, everybody who has made me learn something and encouraged me all the way. I'm really, I'm very much obliged to them, very much grateful to them. And in terms of, I would say that since there are various things, and we used to have as a routine as a CMS student of CMS, beginning with the morning assembly. We really used to enjoy those devotional songs. I still remember a few of them. I still sing them. So, but my family members, my husband asked me, what is this song? I said, we used to sing it as devotional song. So, yes, ma'am. Very, very nice and very yes, ma'am. It's really wonderful, and the lines and it's such wonderful, and still fills you with lots of energy, I would say. And we used to have our own we used to participate in assembly, and I would say that I did a small intervention in the assembly thing when I was in sectoral branch. I started with a quote when I had any activity, like whether I was reading some news, whether I was going from some activity thing. I used to start it with a quote. I used to find a quote before preparing before the day after. So, and I used to start that thing with the quote. And I think it picked it up, and the students after me, they used to start any things I listed in the assembly with a quote. So I would say that was my small intervention. I don't know whether it's still right now or not. And these obviously the all religious prayer assemblies, we now see even on the words platform scenario that we need a lot of appreciation for different culture, for different opinions, for different type of things people like, they have in their culture, the things that are very sacred to them. So I think CMS has really worked very hard on those values to be imbibed in their students. बहुत मेहनत करी है कि हम appreciate कर सके. We can appreciate those things. I have lived all my life in Lucknow. Now I am in Rajasthan, and it's different, though it's still North India, but there's so much difference in culture we see mostly in rural areas. But we tend to be more appreciative, and we tend to understand that there are differences, but doesn't mean that you are right or I am wrong. So these type of things, it has broadened our, I would say, mind that way, and our vision also. So this has been a very, I would say, takeaway from my school education. And it's been more than 12 years I have been in service. And by God's grace, I have handled around 8-9 transfers till date. But everywhere I have been filled up of energy. I've bounced back. I had that ray of positivity. And even in places where they say that's a challenging task, or whether being a collector of a challenging district. So I think that type of feeling I have got from my school education, that, you never say never, and be positive, and you have that, you can do it. So I think that type of feeling, when my foundation is made, and the school has, as I would say, my teachers, the whole school environment, my peer group, so they have really made me and have that feeling, that feeling I have in me. I think it's because of that. And we used to celebrate achievements. That is a very wonderful, in fact, way of celebrating achievements, what we had at CMS. Jahan par when we are first or second rank in our class, we have those certificates where our mothers are recognized. I think I nowhere I've seen in any school where, mother queen, and so and everybody wanted his or her mother to be mother queen. So because that used to be rank 1. So but it's not because only of rank 1, but the mother will be called mother queen. So that was a wonderful, in fact, I would say that thing that is there in the CMS performance, that how we rank performance also of our students. And I remember till from 1st class to 5th class, we used to have those books as prizes. we never used to have till 5th class. We never used to have cash prize or something. After 6th we had. So that was also a very good way. But even if you are not fond of reading, you have to read it. It's your prize, and one should not. It's not just a showcase something and that you just keep in your shelf. So that was, I think, it's a very, very wonderful idea of, in fact, encourage reading, where we have lots of now big, campaigns planned out just to make kids read. So I think that was a truly wonderful thing. We used to have enormous libraries, and we used to have access to every book. Nothing was locked up. So, and we used to have access to everything which a student would want to read in those age group. And I would say, I would emphasize on 2-3 things that apart from the exposure we got, that because we used to have different competitions, different international events, we used to have in World Parliament, we used to have Chief Justice seminars being organized by CMS. And I remember that my branch, it held Celeste. And I was organizing, I was responsible for Sri Lankan trade. And I had such a wonderful experience. I got to know their culture. I made not lifelong friends, because at that point of time, we never used to have this cell phone, mobile. So maybe if we had, maybe we would have made lifelong friends also. So it was a very wonderful experience, and it developed such a competitive feeling when we had events like GOFAs, and we used to have this International Science Olympiad. I remember we won 2 trophies when I was in class 11. So it's a wonderful feeling that, even if in our own CMS, family, we had so much competition and brought so much good in us. And so it really, and a very healthy feeling, and I would say. And I remember that there was a lot of encouragement from our teachers, and there was no spoon feeding, I would say, which happens in many schools. I have seen that you were encouraged. You were encouraged to do your better. You were encouraged to do your best, but you were not encouraged in a way that you have been taught this thing. So the basics were there were more emphasis on the basics than before solving any complex issues. I think which has helped in my service also, because whenever I try to solve any difficult situation is presented before me, I try to go back to the basics. That because in the basics only one can find what is the original solution lies, if you understand the basics. And we used to have those wonderful events when we were celebrating achievements in academics and sports, and so and it used to test our physical limits also. So I think that has been very good for me, because as a bureaucrat, I have not been on desk job all the time. I have been on field, and the temperature have been very high, and we used to stand in under the score sheet. Maybe some days are there when there are visits of dignitary, you have to bypass your lunch and dinner and everything. So it was in our system that we were ready for those physical limits, I would say. And obviously the motto, the Jai Jagat, says it all. That even when I joined college, I used to sometimes say to my teachers Jai Jagat, and then they thought that maybe I'm speaking good morning or maybe good afternoon, but I was actually speaking Jai Jagat. Then maybe with some habit, these things come, because Jai Jagat we used to say. So good morning, good afternoon didn't matter to us. And obviously, but these things about Jai Jagat, now everywhere we see that you don't have to be just a person who is just concerned about his own region, about his own place, about his own state, about his own community. You have to work for the betterment of, think about betterment, how it impact others also. So, and that is a call which have been various international organizations have also been giving. So I think this Jai Jagat has really, it was a phenomenal thing which CMS have been emphasizing upon, and and had been, Gandhi sir has been very visionary in that way, that he was thinking those things which have been thought by now by everybody is saying right now. So that vision thing, I think it's a very, we are truly grateful to you to give us such a vision at a very young age. And if you talk about 4 pillars of education in CMS, then one comes is eloquent speech. And as a bureaucrat, we need to give a lot of speech. So we need to go in events, we need to. And I think we were ready for that, because we were prepared like anything by our teachers, by our, we were never shy of the stage. So I think that also helped us. So I would say, like, maybe it's so everything what is being done in imparting education in CMS actually prepares you for the world after you just finish your schooling, finish your formal education. And I'm very grateful to Dr. Shishir, Gandhi sir, Geeta madam, and Bharti ma'am, that you have organized such a beautiful conclave where we are coming together. And it's the second civil service conclave, and I happened to see my sister's name on it. I was hoping that she would also join in, but obviously the elections thing is going on, so she didn't. Maybe obviously she is busy in that. But apart from having such a conclave, like Gyaneshwar sir was also saying, that we need, maybe because some people have achieved maybe you can say at good positions. They are at position of power or position of authority, and there are many more students of CMS which maybe are not doing so well in their life as by some parameters, you would say. So I would say that if we can strengthen our this alumni, this whole network that way, like I would just give an example of IIT. The network is so strong that if you're just an IITian, things get done just like anything. So obviously for betterment, it's not for wrong reasons. So I would just request Gandhi sir, if we can have a network like that, when when all alumni, they just get know each other and maybe work for betterment of all the other alumni who may be in touch and who may they help in any capacity. So I would request sir, if we can work on those lines also. It will be a really amazing thing which will get done. And apart from that, I would just say that I still remember, sir, I was given a cycle when I passed the class 10th, and was given a suitcase after that. I still cherish that suitcase, and the suitcase traveled with me everywhere. So I have not given that to anybody, because it's like I carry my school, some part of my school with me. So that is
it was one of the first few things you earned with your own, yes, hard work, and it was a material thing that was of some value that you earned yourself. So that's why you're so attached to it. It's very understandable.
Yes, ma'am. And lastly, I would say that even now I have 2 kids. One is in 4-year-old, one is 8-year-old. And when I get to get them admitted somewhere, I always try to rank them on a parameter whether the CMS thing is there in that school or not. I don't know, like this is the thing in me. So, and lastly, I would say that CMS has taught us that you should never stop learning. Bureaucrats, they are, I would say, sometimes they are said that they have stopped learning after some stage. They have got their own ideas. That mindset has been built up. So, madam nahi samjhengi, sir not nahi samjhengi, because now we have been so many years in service. But I would say that CMS has made me and has this thing is ingrained in me that never stop learning. Even after doing my engineering, I'm still learning in literal sense. I would say that I did my professional certification from Imperial College of London. I'm pursuing Masters in Development Studies. I'm thinking of applying. I've already applied for Princeton, so I'm waiting for the result in Masters in Public Policy all the time. So regarding policies and schemes and programs, so that learning thing has actually helped me in my career as well as dealing with people. So and enriching me in my own as a person. It's enriching me to have a better dialogue, to have a better engagement with others. And Jyoti ma'am would. And obviously other people of CMS family, they would also know. In our school, it's written, every child is potentially the light of the world. So as a bureaucrat and as a collector of my district, and even now also, we are trying to make that every child the potentially the light of the world. Now also my work is that. So I would be very happy if how many children I'm able to bridge that gap to make every child the potentially the light of the world. So that is one of my motto right now. And we want all sparkling lights all over the world. So I truly hope that I'm able to fulfill these values which have been taught by my CMS, by my alma mater. And I'm really grateful to you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. जय हिंद जय
Spoke so eloquently. पापा, इनको साइकिल जो आपने दी थी वो याद है, और जो सूटकेस दिया था वो याद है. वो कभी नहीं छोड़ते. जब भी ये जाते हैं कहीं पर, they take, she's taking that suitcase with her. She could have any number of new suitcases she wanted, but that is very beloved. So वो जो सूटकेस दिया था क्लास 10th में, और फिर शायद क्लास 12th के बाद एक साइकिल दी थी, या the other way around. That is such an emotional thing you said, honestly.
Thank you, Geeta ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Nehagiri, for coming up with your story, your success story in CMS, and also committing to help other alumni, and also taking the message of CMS to a very large society of making children potentially the light of the world. I believe such kind of essence is what we need and we expect from our alumni who are at such esteemed positions just like you.
I mean, I may just say that this is such a huge platform that you have. You have influence over the state as a whole, depending on which portfolio you happen to hold at the time. But at some point or another, you may also have, the education portfolio. You may also have had it in the past. As DM, you had portfolio. You are responsible for everything. So it is such a huge platform from which, if a person is minded, socially, minded, service-minded, like you just said that, you want to transplant that idea of making other children potentially the lights of the world. And you have such a huge canvas, any district, or in fact, the state as a whole. So it's just a blessing of God if somebody imbibes that value that they've been taught. Not every young person takes that with them. So I think that the founders would be feeling so happy. I think that what they really intended and what they, like you said, they worked so hard for it. It doesn't happen automatically, right? It's something that's extremely deliberate and extremely pursued, that to keep that agenda center stage, and such that it really permeates children's, and children internalize it. So there cannot be any greater tribute to the founders of the school than to say that, I understood those values, I liked those values, and now I'm applying those values. It's amazing. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. So this was Ms. Nehagiri, and she shared her experiences, how CMS education helped her in shaping her career. Yes, please.
Invite Ila Tripathi ji.
Yes. So we now invite the next speaker, Ms. Ila Tripathi, IAS, and she is an alumna of CMS Aliganj Campus 1. And we are thankful to Mrs. Jyoti Kashyap for bringing her principal on board over here. Thank you.
He was informed about this today only, around I think 10 o'clock, because when I saw her name was not there, I spoke to Shishir, and Shishir said, ma'am, if you can contact. Immediately I spoke to Lipika ma'am, because she is in touch with all the students, and I think she approached Ila and Kirti also, and that's how Ila is here. So very thankful to you, Ila, for joining us today.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Jagdish Gandhi sir. Thank you, Shishir ji, for having me here today. So going back to the day of my selection, I believe since I am among all the distinguished alumni of CMS, I'm one of the most recent batches. So I still remember it was 31st May 2017, and the results came out around 6:30 in the evening. I had several calls from media people and otherwise, because as the adage goes, UP में होके UPSC नहीं लिखा तो फिर क्या किया? So I had numerous calls on my phone, and everyone wanted to know my background. So I mainly confessed that I was a forced engineer because I never had my heart in engineering. But I was very proud of my association with CMS. Jagdish Gandhi sir might not remember, but I joined as early as class 2. And तब सर CMS गोमती नगर का ऑडिटोरियम थोड़ा न्यू ही था, and Republic Day tableaus उन सब की practices में Veera Hajela ma'am was my teacher back then, English teacher, and she used to always encourage me कि today you will give speech, founder sir will be there, Gauri Khanna ma'am will be there, everyone would be there. So we used to prepare speeches impromptu. So तब से लेके even till today, I am in Telangana cadre, sir and ma'am. So as a part of our cadre services, we have to learn the native language. So even now, when I go in rural areas, as Neha Giri ma'am was mentioning, field visit is an integral part of our services. So जब भी field पे जाना होता है तो वहाँ पे तेलुगु impromptu बोलनी पड़ती है, क्योंकि कई बार आप कहीं पे चीफ गेस्ट होते हैं, कहीं पे आप पूरी मीटिंग को चेयर कर रहे होते हैं. So in those moments, these extempore exercises, which I have been exposed to since very early in my career and my school life, they come very handy. I still remember, sir, I don't know, tab Manjeet Batra ma'am CMS Gomti Nagar ke principal the, and I had won first prize in Odyssey in creative writing as well as in speech. So somehow Manjeet Batra ma'am was like, "Arey, so Gauri Khanna ma'am ko she says ki your students are getting all the trophies karke." So I still have that trophy. It was a literary book with a feather. It was a very beautifully designed trophy. So I think it was one of the moments which I really cherish. And one other thing that I learned in CMS was swimming. So in UPSC personality tests, as most of the senior distinguished alumni are aware, they basically focus on your extracurricular and hobbies as well. So it was in CMS that I started swimming. Jitendra sir was my sports teacher. Starting mein I had absolutely no clue. I thought I would drown even in 4 feet pool there. But somehow my teachers were very encouraging, and it so happened that our training institute in Mussoorie, Labasna, Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy, they recently inaugurated the pool at the time I had joined. And I also represented the services, and I also got a prize there. So in Tagmudu, I think last time Gyanesh sir and also I think Gopal sir has also mentioned that leadership was something which was inculcated in all the CMS alumni at a very early stage. So be it extracurricular ho, be it language skills ho, be it UPSC में जो भी हम लोगों को सफलता मिली है, it was only because we had a very strong foundation. इसके अलावा I think even while I was studying in the school, I never took tuitions. UPSC की तैयारी के लिए भी I never went to Delhi. I never got in the run-of-the-mill coachings because somehow I had faith in myself, or maybe in my teachings earlier, that I don't think I need any external support as far as the pedagogy is concerned because of the strong fundamentals that I had. And I think जब मेरा selection हुआ तो all the neighbors were asking कि त्रिपाठी जी की बेटी ने कहाँ से पढ़ाई की है. So then they said, "Are CMS Aliganj Sector O branch." So a lot of my neighborhood kings and toddlers, they were also, I think, they got admission in the same branch itself. So I'm very thankful to all the teachers and also Jyoti Kashyap ma'am. Jyoti ma'am, I came to know her in 17 when she first called me to the school, because earlier to that I had seen her only in programs, because I guess ma'am was at that time not in Sector O branch. So my first one-on-one interaction with ma'am was then. And Lipika ma'am, as ma'am rightly mentioned, has been in touch with all the alumni through and through. So it has been a long-lasting relation. And like Gyaneshwar sir had mentioned, if there could be more physical meetups, and like Nehagiri ma'am said, if there could be a close knit, maybe a WhatsApp group or an interconnected network like those of IITs, it would further strengthen the bond, not only just among civil servants, but there are other alumni who are doing really, really well in other spheres. So we can be a helping hand to each other, come what may. And I think with those, I would like to once again thank Jyoti ma'am, Jagdish sir, Shishir ji for having me here today. I'm sorry I don't have a very elaborate write-up because I was informed in a very short time.
What you said,
these are my words.
Be elaborate, it came from the heart, and that's so much more effective than if you pen something down. Similarly with Nehagiri as well, it all came straight from the heart, and it touches the heart when it comes from the heart. And I mean, regarding the Alumni Association, both of you raised that. So let me just say that, we haven't been very proactive about creating a ACMS Alumni Association. We've done little bits here and there over a period of time, and Shishir is making some efforts. We've now got an an alumni newsletter. It's a campus level alumnus newsletter that's coming out once every quarter. It's only just started. The second issue is just being made. The first issue was there before. So I will ask Shishir to share with Veera Hajela ma'am. In fact, it turns out, Ila, that your former teacher, English teacher, Veera ma'am, she went on to become a principal at another campus. She's just retired in last June. And she's now stayed on in CMS. We're very happy that she stayed on, and she's heading several things. One of them is, helping to put together the alumni newsletter. She has helped to do that. So we'll make sure that your names are added to that so that you do get the alumni newsletter. And we will be trying to do more in this direction, because I can see that, people would like that, and we ourselves also want it. So we're going to try and make
There's a widespread network, ma'am. Like on Twitter also, we can come across a lot of CMS alumni, and they think
then in that case, we would love to harness that data from you so that we can add them to our database, and then, widen that database and have a bigger outreach to our alumni wherever they are, because, that kind of seems to exist in different groups. So we'd love to approach you for that. I think Veera will approach you.
I'll forward the link to you, and you can register on this. Okay, I'll just forward the link to you.
Ma'am, definitely, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for having me today. Thank you.
For coming, and thank you for joining in such a short notice.
Ma'am, pleasure is mine. Thank you.
And stay connected.
Thank you so much, Ms. Ila Tripathi, for being with us, and sorry for having you waiting for long. And
I also like to tell Geeta that Ila Tripathi possesses experience in data analysis, qualitative market research, due diligence, digital payment gateways, and third-party reconciliations. Additionally, she has experience in product and channel innovation, product development, services rollout, business processes improvement, and capacity planning. She has worked with enthusiastic and promising e-commerce and B2C ventures, and thus possesses enhanced web analytical skills.
Wonderful.
Sir, they were basically in my previous role, sir. इससे पहले मैंने फाइनेंशियल कंसल्टिंग में काम किया था, सर. तब काफी कुछ.
Very illustrious personality.
All those skills stay with you. You know,
Thank you.
whatever you go on to do, those skills stay with you. And you.
Ma'am, I also had a brief stint at LAC, ma'am. I went there for summer school in my minor year.
Wow.
Since you mentioned it, just I thought I'd
Yeah. I was there for 3 years. 1982 to 1985 is when I was there. So an age ago.
Long back.
Long back. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ila Tripathi, and thank you for the wonderful suggestion of having a physical alumni meet. We have held alumni meets in the past, and once you are here in Lucknow, we'll definitely hold one as well. I would now like to invite our next speaker, who has joined right in the beginning, Mr. Hassan Ahmed, a very enthusiastic CMS alumnus, and he has been with us. I mean, he has never left CMS, I would say, because ever since he passed out from 1998 from CMS Station Road campus, he has stayed in touch with us constantly. He has been an IT professional, and from that he qualified the prestigious civil services and went on to become an IRS officer. Presently, he is serving as the Deputy Secretary at the Ministry of Finance, and sorry, now he is the Undersecretary. He's an IRS officer in Ministry of Finance and a 1999 pass out of CMS Station Road campus. We welcome Mr. Hassan Ahmed, who is very committed CMS alumnus. Thank you.
Very good afternoon, everyone. Jai Jagat as well. So it is always a pleasure to reconnect to CMS, and it's been a blessing all through that. I still consider myself as a CMS family member, and the family member, a CMS, entire family of CMS, they hold me in high prestige and keep connecting to me. Thank you, everyone. So most of the things have already been said, and the experiences which we all have had earlier have been very well elaborated by the by the alumni who have spoken before me. So one very important thing is that I never saw virtues personified in people after I left CMS. This is what I still crave for while in bureaucracy, while I interact with people, and while I go ahead and I look forward to meeting people. But I'm yet to come across an institution, a family of institutions, or any organization wherein I see each and everyone, right from the lab assistant to the headmistress, the principal, the founder manager. The experience I've had is awesome, is peerless. I must confess this to you very, very frankly. It is such kind of an experience is peerless. I studied in CMS from 1988 to 1999. Those 11 years, I had a wonderful chance to get promoted twice. So I covered 13 classes, 13 grades in those 11 years. And all thanks, gratitude to Manjeet Batra ma'am. I still say that those 11 years have been foundational for me and very formative. When I look back, when I retrospect and see how those years have contributed in me, the values of life, values of divinity, values of understanding diversity, and looking beyond what a normal person or normal what an average citizen of the world would look for. So I'm really, really very grateful to CMS. So I would say that most of the things have already been said by my seniors. So long back, I composed a few lines for my teachers at CMS. So I would just recite that composition of mine, and it is an August gathering, and I presume that it is also a good opportunity for me to say what I feel all day night. And when I see my own kids coming up, I keep on calculating, I keep on guessing in my own self as to when should I take a transfer to Lucknow so that my kids get what I got earlier from CMS, the CMS education for my own kids. So, which I wrote for CMS teachers. I hope I'm audible. Shishir Bhaiya?
Yes, yes, you're audible.
You're audible,
Thank you.
100%.
And please
Thank you.
come,
Thank you so much.
come back to Lucknow and bring your children to CMS, please.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for the welcome. So I titled this composition Ode to the Tangibility of Imagination. So here I go. One sunny morn, sat I exalting the sterling ingenuity of the Almighty in devising the universe, when my hoary imagination ruminated the word CMS as the unrivaled premier seraphic creation. So over here, this by CMS, I would mean the entire CMS family, the entire CMS family of led by the teachers. Composition are they with traits divine, engrossed are they in pursuit angelic and benign. Unaware of their soil, little do they discern the cogent might of their constitution. So or by this paragraph, I mean to allude to their humility, that they don't realize who they are and what kind of an impact they make on the pupils and the people around. Next stanza. My nation counts on them, while thine count on wisdom dissemination. So beautifully they bring the pupils incalcitrant bronze in coherence and make a soulful civilization of his organic composition. Like chivalrous, intrepid, and indefatigable cavalcade, set out they the society's voyage in the success realm, radiant and sanguine enough to embarrass the first ray of the dusk. Heaven are dying of peace and erudition, reflection of Ridzi ray in a rivulet as an eternal alter ego, a twilight in the knowledgeless darkness. Deeper than the sea is their devotion, wider than the sky remains thine approach. O my Almighty, would exhaust myself uncountably, pronouncing a unit of gratitude. So intangibly you touch my soul, though produce its tangible mutations. What am I, had I been not? Have not you all taught? Adulation none, but a spiritual realization, or my life's best comprehension. Oh, what a truthful imagination. Jai Jagat.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
That was all.
Yeah.
That was all.
Yeah.
Apart from being a poet, I'm amazed by the width of your vocabulary. So I don't know what you studied at university. Did you study English at university?
No, ma'am. I actually studied engineering, but I had a special penchant to learn English, and that I would say I still got from CMS.
and Prakash, your inspiration.
Yes. Prakash Bhaiya has been very instrumental.
As you said that you
the way he spoke has been awesome.
Yeah, that drew you into English language. But it was a pleasure to hear so these words that one doesn't hear them in common parlance. Indefatigable.
I tried to bring it out very well. because the
And I don't
objective
think
was
I've
very
ever
clear.
seen so many long polysyllabic words in one poem together. But they're all
Thank you so
meaningful,
much,
you know, here. It was not
Thank you
strained.
so much, ma'am.
You know, it was very interesting, very nice. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. Well, I'm very happy to see my senior and one of my very family of good friends, Miss Atul Sharma, sir. Sir, hello, good afternoon. So I would say that I stay in touch with him. So I think he'll be one of the forthcoming speakers now.
Yeah.
Hassan, very good afternoon to you, Jai Jagat. Should I start, Shishir?
Yeah,
Because
I would like to formally welcome. Firstly, I would like to thank Mr. Hassan Ahmed for being with us and bringing so many lively memories, and especially sharing this beautiful poem. As Geeta ma'am said, we are amazed by the depth and width of your vocabulary. Being an IT professional,
Ma'am, I would say that physical interaction be scheduled at a convenient time.
Sure, we'll plan it very soon because of COVID. We had planned this. We would.
Yes.
I mean, Mr. Gandhi is always keen. Whenever we propose an alumni meet, he always says, "Ki kamre kahan karwane hain," and you know all of that. He hopes that you'll come. But because COVID was lasting till last month, and when we initiated it, this online gathering, the third wave was still on. So now that it has subsided, we do hope, and we'll consult with Geeta ma'am and Gandhi sir and respected Mrs. Gandhi, and we will plan it very soon, and we'll let you know.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
We are
so
as keen to meet you as you are keen to meet us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sparing your very, very precious time on a Sunday to be with us, and we hope that you will be with us physically as well very soon. Thank you so much. And, and I would now like to invite Mr. Atul Sharma. He is an IPS officer. He studied in CMS till 1995. He passed out from CMS RDSO campus, and he is now heading the 24th Battalion of PAC, and he is the commandant over there. He is presently posted in Muradabad, and I believe he was posted in Lucknow as well earlier. As I can see his profile, he was Deputy Director of Traffic, if I'm not mistaken. Over to Mr. Atul Sharma, who will elaborate more on what he is currently doing and how CMS education helped him to reach where he is today. Mr. Sharma.
Thank you, Dr. Shishir. First of all, very good afternoon to all, and Jai Jagat as well, because this has been our motto. और मैं बहुत ही शुक्रगुजार हूँ इस बेहतरीन इंस्टीट्यूशन का. मैं बेसिकली एक हम्बल बैकग्राउंड से आता हूँ और एक छोटे से स्कूल से मैं सीएमएस से पहुंचा था क्लास 6 में. मेरा क्लास 6 में एडमिशन हुआ और क्लास 6 से लेके क्लास 10 तक I had been in 2 branches of CMS. That was CMS Station Road and CMS RDSO branch. और इसी स्टेशन रोड में मेरे साथ प्रिंसिपल थी डॉक्टर मजीद बत्रा और आरडीएसओ में थी डॉक्टर विनीता कामरान. दोनों ही प्रिंसिपल्स, एज एवरीवन नोज, अभी भी यहाँ पर काम कर रहे हैं और दोनों ही फैंटास्टिक काम कर रहे हैं. दोनों ही बहुत ही ब्रिलियंट, बहुत ही इफेक्टिव, बहुत ही एफिशिएंट प्रिंसिपल्स हैं. और इसके साथ साथ जो भी हमारे इंस्टीट्यूशन में टीचर्स थे वो भी बहुत अच्छा काम करते थे. मैंने देखा कि किस तरह से सारा स्टाफ मिलकर के, पूरा मैनेजमेंट मिलकर के किस तरह से बेहतर काम करता था वहां पर. तो मेरी इस जर्नी में मैं चूंकि यहाँ पर बाद में 1995 में वहां से निकलने के बाद फिर मैंने ग्रेजुएशन किया. पहले तो 10+2 बाहर से किया, फिर उसके बाद ग्रेजुएशन किया और उसके बाद पीजी किया और उसके बाद मैं बाहर गया तैयारी करने के लिए. और आज मैं यहाँ पर 2009 बैच में आईपीएस में सेलेक्ट होकर के बैठा हूँ. और पहले दिन से ही मुझे ये फीलिंग थी कि नहीं, बहुत ये जो हुआ है हमारा सीएमएस में रहने का सफर हमारा बहुत अच्छा रहा. क्योंकि जब हम एकदम हम्बल बैकग्राउंड से आते हैं तो हमें ये दिखता है कि बहुत सारी चीजें हमें क्लियर नहीं होती हैं. बहुत चीजों के लिए जो एक्सपोजर हमारा होता है वो मेरा यहीं पर जाकर के हुआ, चाहे वो एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर एक्टिविटीज हो, चाहे वो नंबर ऑफ सब्जेक्ट्स हो। जब हम पहले पढ़ते थे क्लास 5 तक, तो पता चलता था कि वो एक छोटा सा स्कूल था जहां पर कुल मिलाकर के 5-6 सब्जेक्ट थे, कुल मिलाकर के हिंदी, इंग्लिश, मैथमेटिक्स, इस तरह से करके। जब मैं सीएमएस पहुंचा तो मैंने देखा इंग्लिश के भी 2 पार्ट हैं, मैथमेटिक्स के भी 2 पार्ट हैं, और सोशल स्टडीज में भी 3-3 पार्ट हैं, हिस्ट्री, ज्योग्राफी, पॉलिटिक्स, मतलब इस तरह से था। तो चीजों को डेप्थ में और डिटेल्स में स्टडीज कराने का जो सीएमएस का तरीका है वो वास्तव में बहुत अच्छा है, क्योंकि इसी के थ्रू आप, खासकर मेरी फील्ड में अगर आना है, सिविल सर्विसेज फील्ड में आना है, तो चीजों को आपको डेप्थ में पढ़ना होगा। तो इस तरह से पढ़ाई में मेरी मदद हुई। फिर उसके बाद वहां पर जो लीडरशिप स्किल्स के लिए सिस्टम है, जो हमारे टाइम में पहले होता था, लीडरशिप स्किल्स के लिए प्रीफेक्ट रखते थे, वाइस प्रीफेक्ट रखते थे, कैप्टन है, वाइस कैप्टन है, हेड बॉय, वाइस हेड बॉय है, हेड गर्ल है, वाइस हेड गर्ल है। ये पहले हमारे साथ में नहीं होता था, पिछले स्कूल में नहीं होता था। वहां पर जाकर के हमें ये पता चला, एक एक्स्ट्रा चीज पता चली, तो उसका भी एक अलग रोल हुआ। और ये बहुत पहले की बात है, अब तो सारे स्कूल्स में ये कॉमन हो गया है, लेकिन ये सीएमएस ने बहुत पहले से स्टार्ट कर रखा था। मैंने तो जाकर के देखा, लेकिन उससे पहले भी स्टार्ट रहा होगा, मुझे याद नहीं है। फिर आरडीएसओ में हम गए, हमने ये देखा कि इन लीडर्स को सेलेक्ट करने के लिए भी वोटिंग होती थी। पता चला हमारे टाइम में नितिन जैन और एक मोनिका नाम की लड़की थी, ये दोनों ही लोग हेड बॉय और हेड गर्ल सेलेक्ट हुए थे, उसके लिए हमने वोटिंग की थी। तो वो भी एक नया हमारे लिए एक्सपोजर था, क्योंकि वी आर नॉट इंट्रोड्यूस टू द वोटिंग सिस्टम, और इस तरह से हमें डेमोक्रेसी से भी परिचय कराया गया। तो ये ऐसी चीजें हैं जो वास्तव में सीएमएस ही इनकलकेट कर सकता है हमारे अंदर। और उसने ये देखा कि ना हमें केवल पढ़ाना है, बल्कि हमें इन चीजों को लोगों को बताना है, उनको फील कराना है, उनको प्रैक्टिकली अनुभव देना है, अप्लाई करके दिखाना है। तो मेरा ख्याल है कि सीएमएस में जो सबसे अच्छी बात है वो यही है कि वो चीजों को अप्लाई करके दिखाता है। और इसके अलावा अगर मैं देखूं तो हर साल, हर बार, हर महीने में जो बेस्ट, सबसे ज्यादा गुड मार्क्स जिसके होते थे, बैड मार्क्स जिसके होते थे, वो कैलकुलेट होता था। मुझे पुरानी बातें याद आ रही हैं, आप लोगों को शायद थोड़ा सा बोरिंग लग रही हो, लेकिन मेरे लिए काफी इंटरेस्टिंग है। मैं उस समय देखता था तो पता चलता था कि हर महीने में किसने सबसे ज्यादा गुड मार्क्स लिए, किसने सबसे ज्यादा बैड मार्क्स लिए, और गुड मार्क्स वाले को स्टेज पे बुलाया जा रहा है, उस तरह से किया जा रहा है। कुछ पुरानी यादें इस तरह से है कि हम लोगों को सीएमएस की जो प्लेज है, प्लेज बिफोर गॉड हुम आई लव एंड वर्शिप टू बी अ वर्दी स्टूडेंट, अब याद आ रहा है। तो वो एक बार ऐसा ही हुआ, एक इंसिडेंस हुआ, हम स्टेशन रोड में थे और मंजीत बत्रा मैम प्रिंसिपल थी हमारी, वो स्टेज पे ही थी। तो पता चला कि पढ़ पढ़ करके सुना रहे थे, उसको प्लेज करा रहे थे। तो मैम ने कहा ना, सबको याद होना चाहिए। और उस दिन फिर पहली बार ऐसा हुआ कि सब लोगों ने फिर प्लेज याद की। तो ये भी एक अलग सा इनिशिएटिव था कि पहले हम लोगों को, मतलब देख देख करके एक चीज पढ़ना और एक हम लोगों को समझना, और उसके बाद उसकी हर एक चीज की मीनिंग समझना। फिर वो पता चलता है कुछ ऐसी चीजें थी कि टीचर्स स्टेज पे आते थे और एक स्टोरी सुनाते थे, स्टोरी के माध्यम से कोई ना कोई मैसेज होता था। स्टोरीज हमेशा बच्चों को पसंद होती थी। मैं क्लास 7th-8th में ही था, मैं स्टेशन रोड से क्लास 8th में पास आउट हुआ था, तो एक बच्चा ही था। तो बच्चों को जो चीजें पता समझ में आती है, वो ज्यादा से ज्यादा स्टोरीज के माध्यम से समझ में आती है। तो मेरी जर्नी सीएमएस की बड़ी शानदार रही, चाहे ये सब हो, चाहे एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर एक्टिविटीज हो, चाहे मैं जब सीएमएस में था तो आरडीएसओ में था जब, तो प्ले कार्ड डिस्प्ले का एक प्रोग्राम हुआ था भारतीयम करके, 94 इट वाज, आई थिंक 94 में क्लास 9th में था, तब ये था, केडी सिंह बाबू स्टेडियम में हुआ था। तो फर्स्ट टाइम हमने देखा कि प्ले कार्ड डिस्प्ले कितनी शानदार चीज होती है। और वैसे मुझे नहीं लगता कि, मुझे अभी तक मैं श्योर नहीं कि कितने लोगों ने इसको आज तक भी किया होगा, जबकि वो इतना बड़ा ग्रैंड फेस्टिवल था, इतना बड़ा इन्वेस्टमेंट था, लेकिन वो बिकॉज ऑफ मिस्टर जगदीश गांधी, भारती गांधी और हमारी गीता गांधी मैम की वजह से ये पॉसिबल हुआ। और मेरी इस जर्नी में वास्तव में सीएमएस का बहुत बड़ा योगदान है। मैंने जो कॉन्फिडेंस मेरे अंदर आया, मेरे अंदर लोगों, बिकॉज आई वाज फ्रॉम हिंदी मीडियम, सो आई वाज नॉट सो मच कंफर्टेबल इन इंग्लिश। और इंग्लिश फर्स्ट सेकंड में तो ग्रामर में तो मैं हमेशा फेल हो जाया करता था, क्योंकि पासिंग मार्क्स ही 60% रखा था। उससे पहले तो मैं जहाँ रहता था वहाँ 40% मार्क्स होता था, यहाँ पासिंग मार्क्स 60%। तो पहली बार तो जब मैं गया, मैं अपने स्कूल से, जहाँ से पहले वाले स्कूल से गया था, वहां तो टॉपर था। जब सीएमएस में पहुंचा तो 16 में से मुझे लगता है 10 या 11 सब्जेक्ट में फेल हो गया था, क्योंकि एक तो नई पढ़ाई थी, नया जगह था, मुझे समझ ही नहीं आ रहा था। दूसरा पासिंग मार्क्स 60%, तो मैं फेल हो गया। लेकिन धीरे धीरे कोप अप करते करते, बिकॉज मैं भी डिटरमाइंड था कि मुझे कुछ ना कुछ तो करना है, तो फिर उसके बाद मैंने लग करके और फिर अच्छा स्कोर किया। और आज बिकॉज ऑफ सीएमएस, बिकॉज ऑफ मेनी अदर्स, मैं आज यहाँ पर हूँ और ऐसी जगह पर हूँ जहाँ से वास्तव में मैं बहुत सारे चीजों को प्रभावित कर सकता हूँ, बहुत सारे लोगों को प्रभावित कर सकता हूँ। 2009 में सिलेक्शन के बाद मैं जब लखनऊ, मेरी पहली पोस्टिंग भी एएसपी की जब हुई तो वो अंडर 10 लखनऊ में हुई, उसके बाद मैं बरेली पोस्टेड रहा, लखनऊ में फिर इंटेलिजेंस में भी रहा, CBCID में रहा। अब तक 7 जिलों में मैं SSP रह चुका हूँ, SP रह चुका हूँ, महाराजगंज, कुशीनगर, संत कबीर नगर, खलीलाबाद, औरैया, बिजनौर, फर्रुखाबाद, और कुंभ के समय में जो पिछला 2019 था, कुंभ के समय में मैं गंगा मैया की कृपा से SSP इलाहाबाद भी रहा, जिसको प्रयागराज जब कहते हैं हम लोग। तो दैट वाज अ बेस्ट फीलिंग। मुझे लगता है कि जहां मेरी आज तक की जो भी जर्नी है उसमें CMS का बहुत बड़ा योगदान है, और सबसे बड़ा योगदान उनमें से मैं कहूँ तो कोई गलत नहीं होगा, क्योंकि बहुत सारा एक्सपोजर जो मेरे लिए जरूरी था। पढ़ाई की डिटर्मिनेशन तो मेरे अंदर थी, मैं हमेशा से ये चाहता था कि मुझे कुछ अच्छा करना है, लेकिन एक्सपोजर इज मच इम्पोर्टेंट। वो मुझे CMS से मिला, चाहे वो रिपब्लिक डे की झांकी की तैयारी करने की बात हो, चाहे वो कहीं पर भी जाने की बात हो, और फिर मार्च पास भी हम लोगों ने किया क्लास 8 में जब मैं था सिलेक्शन रोड में, तो 26 जनवरी को मार्च पास किया। आई डोंट नो कि मतलब कितने लोग इसमें मार्च पास में पार्टिसिपेट कर पाते होंगे, मतलब कितने स्कूल्स हैं लखनऊ में, तो हजारों में स्कूल्स हैं, कितने पार्टिसिपेट कर पाते होंगे। तो ये बहुत बड़ी चीज है, और ये तो मैं केवल नाम दे रहा हूँ इंसिडेंसेस के। इन इंसिडेंसेस में अकेले 10-10, 12-12 एक्सपीरियंसेस और जुटे हुए हैं जो उस इंसिडेंट को कंप्लीट करने के दौरान हमने किए। तो फाइनली आई एम वेरी थैंकफुल टू जगदीश गांधी सर, भारती गांधी मैम, गीता गांधी मैम, डॉक्टर शिशिर श्रीवास्तव, एंटायर CMS फैमिली, जय जगत। और मैं हसन की बात को रिट्रेट करना चाहूंगा कि आप निश्चित रूप से एक फिजिकल मीटिंग कराइए, हम सभी लोग वहां पर आएंगे, कहीं से भी टाइम निकाल करके आएंगे, लेकिन आएंगे। और विल लुक अप टू अपने जो हमारे पर्सनल हमारे जो आइकन है, गांधी सर, गांधी मैम और गीता गांधी मैम, सबसे फिर से मिलेंगे और शिशिर से भी मिलेंगे। बस जैसे कि उन्होंने मुझे बताया कि वो भी 95 के पास आउट है हमारे, तो ही हैड बीन माय बैचमेट आल्सो। तो हम लोग जल्दी ही मिलते हैं। थैंक यू, थैंक्स ऑल।
Thank you so much, Atul ji. Thank you so much for sparing such a valuable time on a Sunday. And I know you were busy. You joined and then you left for a meeting and then you rejoined. So that shows your commitment towards CMS as an alumnus. We have the CMS management is still with us. We have Dr. Bharti Gandhi ji. Ma'am, would you like to say something to Mr. Atul Sharma? She was very happy that you are an IPS officer and she can see you here. We have 3 video messages of those IPS and IAS officers who could not join. So we'll.
अच्छा, one thing else I will like to add. जब मेरा 2009 में सिलेक्शन हुआ था, that was a coincidence कि उस साल CMS की 25th एनिवर्सरी थी, तो मैं लखनऊ पहुंचा और सर से मिला, जगदीश गांधी सर से।
राइट,
सॉरी,
50वीं सालगिरह थी,
50, सॉरी, आई मिसस्पेल्ड। तो मैं जगदीश गांधी सर से जाकर के मिला, मैंने सर से बोला कि सर मेरा सिलेक्शन हुआ है, तो ही वाज वेरी हैप्पी। और उन्होंने कहा कि हम लोग इसका एक ऑकेजन रख रहे हैं, सोनाली गिरी भी इस बैच में सेलेक्ट हुई है, तो वो हम सब लोग आएंगे। तो खैर सोनाली तो नहीं पहुंच पाई, मैं पहुंचा था, और राजन शुक्ला साहब थे जो अभी सेक्रेटरी हैं यहाँ पर, प्रिंसिपल सेक्रेटरी हैं, तो वो आए थे। तो हम वो भी एक बहुत बड़ी मेमोरीज है। मैं बचपन से सोचता था, ये बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट फीलिंग था, मैं बहुत ज्यादा अच्छा स्टूडेंट टॉपर्स में नहीं रहा, मतलब ये नहीं कि मैं टॉप 3 में रहा, लेकिन टॉप 5, टॉप 6 में हमेशा रहता था। तो मेरे दिमाग में हमेशा ये होता था कि मैं कभी टॉप करूं और मेरी मदर को उसमें फलों में और फूलों में तौला जाए। तो वो जो कॉन्सेप्ट था वो बड़ा अच्छा था। तो मेरा बचपन का ड्रीम तब फुलफिल हुआ जब वो मतलब 50th एनिवर्सरी के दिन मैं वहां पर पहुंचा और मुझे अपॉर्चुनिटी मिली कि जगदीश गांधी सर ने मुझे मेरी मदर को वहां पे तौला, और मेरा वो बचपन का ड्रीम तब पूरा हुआ। मतलब मेरा ख्याल है कि हर बच्चा ये ड्रीम जरूर करता होगा, जितने भी लोग देखते होंगे। वो सर आपका बड़ा वो मतलब इनोवेटिव प्रयास है, मुझे बड़ा अच्छा लगता है। मैं बचपन से ड्रीम कर रहा था, और मैं बड़ा ही इमोशनल हूँ इस बात को लेकर के, क्योंकि जो भी बच्चा अपनी मदर से, सभी बच्चे अपनी मदर से प्यार करते हैं, उनको चाहते हैं, तो मतलब मेरे लिए तो इट्स ड्रीम कम ट्रू। और मतलब क्या कहूँ, IPS बनने से बड़ी फीलिंग थी कि मेरी मदर को इतना सम्मान मिल रहा था। थैंक यू।
We remember you there in 2009. In fact, Geeta ma'am was also there in that event. I remember. I would request Gandhi sir and Gandhi ma'am to say something, because after this we'll be just playing video messages, and Mr. Hassan Ahmed, Ms. Neha Giri and Mr. Atul Sharma is still with us. They can hear you. Would you like to say something, sir? Okay. So we will now, we have a video message from Mr. Abhishek Singh. He is an IPS officer as well. He is SSP of Anti-Terrorist Squad in Lucknow, and being a superintendent of police with the ATS, he has many commitments. He had joined shortly and then he left, and he has just sent me a short video message of about a minute. So we'll be playing it now.
Good afternoon to Gandhi sir and Gandhi ma'am. I am so honored that I was invited by the school to attend the online civil services conclave, but I am sorry I am traveling, and this is my video message to show my gratitude for the invitation. And I'm so thankful to be a student of City Montessori School, and ma'am and sir would be happy to know that my daughter is also studying in CMS, the Gomti Nagar Extension branch. And ma'am, I have seen the interest that you still take in the education of the younger kids, and my daughter has even recited poems in front of Gandhi ma'am. And I wish that this relationship between me and my family and CMS keeps intact. Thank you.
Just to let you know, Mr. Abhishek Singh is a pass out of 2004 ISC batch from CMS Mahanagar campus. Next, we have a video message from Mr. Shitendra Verma, a very emotional message he has sent. He very much wanted to be here, and he's batchmate of Mr. Ahmed Hassan. I'm thankful to Mr. Hassan for conveying our gratitude and love for Shitendra, but he was unable to join, having a very strong commitment today. So over to the video message of Mr. Shitendra Verma, IRS. He's a 1999 pass out from CMS Station Road campus, currently serving as Joint Commissioner of the Central Goods and Services Tax, GST, based out of Faridabad.
A very, very good afternoon to respected Gandhi sir, Gandhi ma'am, who are really living legends in true sense. Respected Geeta ma'am, all the principals and teachers of City Montessori schools, my younger brothers and sisters from all the branches, and everyone from CMS fraternity. Thank you, sir, for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts on the occasion of second Civil Services Conclave. My name is Shitendra Verma. I am from 2008 batch of Indian Revenue Service and currently posted as Director GST Council in New Delhi. It may seem that I am a successful civil servant today, but the situation was not so, I would say, 2 decades back. In fact, if my younger viewers, the students of CMS are watching this program, I would like you to learn more from my failures than the success, and how the CMS education has helped me overturn my failures and convert them into a success. In 1997, in my class 10th ICS exam, I had scored a very low 76%. I couldn't even get admission into math stream in class 11. And I had to choose commerce stream, not because I wanted to, it was more of a compulsion. Similarly, in class 12th, I scored around 72% marks. After class 12th, I took admission to BCom, did my graduation from Lucknow University. And believe it or not, I had left my studies after that and joined my family business. You all must be seeing various discourses of Gandhi sir during functions of school, that how he speaks about the 4 building pillars of CMS education. I had also listened to so many such discourses while I was there in the school. But the problem is, probably I was just listening to them and I was not imbibing these. Strangely enough, what I could not do during school days, I experienced that once I left the school. I was just sitting at home one fine day. I had come home after my daily business routine, and I was watching this cable TV. And I was just surfing the channels, and there was this cable channel showing CMS programs. At that time, I once again heard the views of our Gandhi sir on universal values, global understanding, and 4 pillars of CMS education: knowledge, wisdom, spiritual perception, and eloquent speech. And probably I was a late bloomer, I have to say that at that moment, those thoughts really struck me deep. I asked myself a question: have I actually given my best effort? I remember Gandhiji saying at that time, in the beginning of his speech, when I was watching that on TV, that every child is potentially the light of the world. So I just asked myself, have I ever given my best efforts to fulfill my potential, to realize my potential? And the answer was no, I have not. Incidentally, after this experience, I happened to meet one of these civil servants who had come to my shop for some purchase, and I was very, very mighty impressed after a conversation with him. And I decided that, can I make a career in civil services? After that, I started my preparation. It took me a good 1.5 to 2 years just to convince myself that whether I'm capable of that. Because generally we form opinions about ourselves that, okay, if we have not done well enough in class 10th, 12th, in our school days, can we? So first takeaway that I want our young viewers to take from this program is that it is never too late to start afresh. And I will tell you how global the 4 pillars of CMS education, knowledge, wisdom, spiritual perception, open speech, are, that they apply to each and every situation you are in. After that, I started preparing for civil services. After some preparation, I gave my first attempt, could not qualify the preliminary examination. Then appeared for my second attempt in 2006, could not qualify. At that time, now relate to what Dr. Gandhi always says. He always gives the example of Thomas Alva Edison, that how he failed multiple times before he could actually invent the light bulb, electric bulb. I gathered all my resources once again and said to myself that it is not time to lose hope, because you have the potential. You have to encourage yourself. You have to believe in yourself. And how does that belief happens? It happens with knowledge. With knowledge comes wisdom. And when you are truly able to assess yourself, your strengths and weaknesses, that develops through spiritual perception. I gave a final push, a lot of efforts. I went to my father and said, Father, can you just spare me 1.5 years so that I can totally focus on one thing that I have finally decided to do in my life. Please help me give my 100% effort. Remember what Dr. Gandhi says, perseverance. And against all odds, in my third attempt, I was able to crack civil services. Now, that is one aspect. Obviously requires much of hard work. I still remember those 15, 16 hour a day study sessions for good 1.5 to 2 years. But that is only one side of the story. When you become an actual civil servant, I will tell you, in today's scenario, contrary to the popular perception, it is not a bed of roses. You have to be very, very service oriented. And the civil services itself is changing so much. It has become so dynamic in nature. The world is changing. At global level, the scenarios are changing every minute. That as a civil servant, you are supposed to continuously upgrade your skill sets through trainings, through self-learning, because you are responsible and accountable for so much, for improving the quality of life of the citizens of the country, for improving their experiences when they come in contact with government officers for various works. And whatever is being taught at City Montessori School, that is nothing but universal values. They transcend the national boundaries, caste, religion, color, creed, cultures. They can be applied anywhere in any situation on each and every individual. Whatever we are working, whatever we are doing today in government sector, all these concepts of senior education are equally applicable. If I do not have global understanding, I cannot perform. The performance appraisals are very tough. I have to give my best. I have to be service oriented to the world. I have to make conscious effort to achieve excellence in everything I do. Only then I will succeed as a civil servant and will be able to justify the position I am in. So, my dear friends, you have this opportunity. Do not wait to be a late bloomer like me. It is never too late to start. Believe in what is being taught to you, and you will achieve success much earlier than I have, in whatever field you want. Thank you so much, sir. My special thanks to Shishir sir for coordinating this event and giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts. Jai Jagat.
So that was Mr. Shitendra Verma, IRS, and we are very thankful to him for sharing his story, a story which illustrates not only his struggle, but also how the values he imbibed at CMS and later he renewed them. And as Gandhi sir says that Edison tried 10,000 times to make a bulb and he succeeded finally. Similarly, Shitendra, he has a never give up attitude and he succeeded in this prestigious civil services exam, taking that message on. So thank you so much. And I would like to thank Mr. Hassan Ahmed. I would like to thank Mr. Atul Sharma, Mr. Shitendra Verma, and all the previous speakers who have given their valuable words of wisdom to not only the CMS fraternity, our teachers, as well as the students. It is all being recorded and it's placed on YouTube. So it will become a property not just of CMS, but for the public at large to see what it takes to be to qualify for civil services and be an IS, IFS, IPS, or an IRS officer. And now we invite Dr. Bharti Gandhi ji. We have a last video message, but before that, I would like to invite respected founder director, Dr. Bharti Gandhi ji, to say a few words to the alumni present here. Thank you.
I'm very happy to really join this wonderful participation of my alumni, I say alumni, not alumni, but illuminaries. They are the people, Prakash पढ़ाया इन्होंने. They are the, वो होता है ना जो समुद्र को गाइड करता है, वो कौन सा होता है?
Lighthouse.
Lighthouse. Wow, wow. Thank you, Shishir. You gave me the right word. So they are our lighthouse. And this lighthouse has become so many. You know, a ship is guided only by one lighthouse, so many ships, but we have got so many lighthouses today. So I'm really very happy. And I can say that anything done with, as one of the students in the last, he was saying, that knowledge, wisdom, spiritual perception, and eloquent speech, Mr. Sharma, you know, Atul Sharma ji, and who was speaking in the last?
Mr. Shitendra Verma, ma'am, IRS.
Shalendra Verma. Yeah,
And Commission Income Tax.
he stole my heart, you know, because he is remembering actually the same words. Many of you have been speaking same words, and one of your juniors is sitting with me, Mr. Sharma, here. His name is
Atul Sharma.
Sanjay Kumar
So, Mr.
Sharma.
Atul Sharma, your junior is sitting with ma'am.
Atul
Oh,
Sharma,
sorry, sir.
yeah, he is sitting with me, and he recognized you, and he has been appreciating you like anything. And I'm so happy that you are recognized so much. And you have been CMS student. That means you are always, you know, so popular. Mr. Gandhi wants that all his students should become the, you know, so popular that people will follow them and bring peace sooner than later. So this question of struggle or the attack by one of the incumbents is, you know, making us really, what we say, what is the word we use?
You mean very nervous? I think the internet is, the internet connectivity is not good.
I think she'll join us soon. Maybe we can play the video message as
Mankind. Mankind. Gita बताएगी. Gita बताओ जरा. Cannot shake the limbs of mankind. क्या बताओ?
Just as humanity will long continue in its perversity, and then there shall suddenly appear that, basically it's saying that the world is in travail and its agitation is waxing day by day. Such shall be its plight that to speak of it now would not be meet and seemly. Humanity will long continue in its perversity, and then when the appointed hour is come, there shall suddenly appear that which will cause the limbs of mankind to quake.
The limbs of mankind to quake. So now we say we are so much, you know, कितना ज़्यादा हमको जकड़ दिया गया है एकदम से कि सारे limbs of mankind are unable to shake. So we are in that condition, and we are meeting today.
मैं शिशिर श्रीवास्तव को बहुत धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूँ कि इन्होंने बहुत मेहनत की, सभी IAS ऑफिसर्स को संपर्क किया, उनके टेलीफोन नंबर पता किए, सबसे टेलीफोन किया और सबकी स्वीकृति ली, और एक से एक बड़े लोग इसमें शामिल हुए। खास तौर से जो हमारी कनाडा से जो शामिल हुई, क्या नाम है, अपूर्वा श्रीवास्तव, कंसुलेट जनरल ऑफ इंडिया, जबकि रात में वहाँ पर 2-2:30 बजे होंगे, तो रात के 2:30 बजे उन्होंने जग करके इस कॉन्फ्रेंस में हिस्सा लिया और काफी देर वो बैठी। मेरे ख्याल से वो 2-3 घंटे इसमें बैठी हैं। इसके अलावा हमारे अगले जो हमारे इंडिया के हाई कमिश्नर हैं वो इसमें आए। इसके अलावा हसन साहब हमारे बीच में बैठे हैं, हमारे बहुत ही
और हमारे जनरल सेक्रेटरी श्री RC गुप्ता जी आए।
हाँ, गुप्ता जी को बहुत धन्यवाद। मैं तो हसन के घर में भी जा चुका हूँ और इनके घर में बहुत बढ़िया खाना खा चुका हूँ, बहुत बढ़िया चीजें हसन साहब के घर में। और हमारे सभी भाई बहन जो इसमें शामिल हुए, और अभी जो इन्होंने अपनी कथा
अतुल शर्मा जी भी हैं। अतुल शर्मा,
हाँ मिस्टर शर्मा, बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग जीवन, किस तरह से CMS में पढ़ाई ने उन्हें आगे बढ़ाया। तो CMS की पढ़ाई ने बहुत विद्यार्थियों को आगे बढ़ाया है और बहुत बड़ी बड़ी उपलब्धियां उन्होंने की हैं। प्रकाश गुप्ता इधर, तो बहुत लोग हैं जिन्होंने CMS में पढ़ करके एक से एक बड़े इंसान बने।
वो सब आज कह रहे हैं कि आपने मोटिवेट किया।
आरसी गुप्ता जी भी 2 शब्द इस अवसर पे कहें तो अच्छा रहेगा।
We invite the General Secretary of CMS, Mr. R.C. Gupta, to please say a few words. Thank you. You're muted, sir. Please unmute yourself. Chaji, please unmute yourself.
आप टांग तो प्लीज इधर कर लो मेरे। अच्छा,
I think can somebody mute?
Yes, we can hear you now, sir.
बहुत अच्छा लगा सभी के विचार सुन के सिटी मॉन्टेसरी स्कूल के बारे में। मैं प्रारंभ से ही सिटी मॉन्टेसरी स्कूल के मैनेजमेंट से जुड़ा हुआ हूँ और अपनी नौकरी के साथ साथ, सर्विस के साथ साथ, और लेकिन मैं यहाँ पे सिर्फ चूँकि सभी पार्टिसिपेंट्स ने बहुत अच्छा अपना इम्प्रेशंस दिए हैं, मैं एक शेयर करना चाहूँगा कि मैं कनाडा गया हुआ था 2004 में, 2004 में, और ओटावा में अपनी डॉक्टर के साथ के घर में रह रहा था। तो वहाँ कुछ लोग बात कर रहे थे। मैंने भी सिटी मॉन्टेसरी स्कूल के वैल्यू एजुकेशन और क्वालिटी एजुकेशन के साथ साथ यहाँ की इसके फिलोसफी, विजन और मिशन के बारे में मैंने बताया। तो वो बहुत इंटरेस्टेड हुए और उन्होंने कहा कि ठीक है, आप हमारी FM रेडियो पर कुछ इसके बारे में बात करें ताकि हमारे जो लिसनर्स हैं वो लखनऊ में जो सिटी मॉन्टेसरी स्कूल चल रहा है उसके बारे में जान सके। तो उन्होंने मुझे इनवाइट किया आज के मेहमान शीर्षक से, और उन्होंने किसी दूसरे व्यक्ति को, किसी को उन्होंने इनवाइट किया था, उन्होंने कैंसिल किया और कैंसिल करके मेरी टॉक रखी। और क्योंकि मुझे जल्दी आना था वापस लखनऊ, इसलिए उन्होंने उसको प्रायोरिटी दी मुझे। मैंने उनको बताया सिटी मॉन्टेसरी स्कूल के विजन के बारे में, फिलोसफी और मिशन के बारे में, तो बहुत खुश हुए और काफी लोगों ने उसको अप्रिशिएट किया और कई लोगों के धन्यवाद के और उसके कॉन्ग्रेचुलेटरी मैसेजेस मुझे मिले। तो इसलिए मैं समझता हूँ कि उसमें इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे एक पहला एक बाय ऑन एयर सिटी मॉन्टेसरी स्कूल का एक कार्यक्रम था, या एक विजन था जिसको कि बताया गया था। और इसके लिए डॉक्टर जगदीश गांधी, डॉक्टर भारती गांधी, इन लोगों ने जो अथक प्रयास किए हैं, मैं तो देखा है, शुरू से देखा, प्रारंभ से देखा है कि एजुकेशन के साथ साथ उन्होंने विश्व एकता, विश्व शांति के ऊपर कितना कुछ किया है और कितना उसमें मैं समझता हूँ कि अगर आप इकोनॉमिक एस्पेक्ट देखें तो कितना कुछ खर्च किया हुआ है उसमें। तो कुछ लोग हैं जो कि स्कूल चलाते हैं और उसके लिए पैसा कमाते हैं उसमें, लेकिन इन्होंने उसमें नहीं किया, बल्कि मानवता के कल्याण के लिए उन्होंने जो किया तो बहुत ही प्रशंसनीय है। उसकी बहुत ही प्रशंसा की गई, वहाँ पर जितने भी लोग थे उन्होंने बहुत प्रशंसा की। मैं समझता हूँ कि इतना काफी है ये बताने के लिए कि सिटी मॉन्टेसरी स्कूल का कितना कुछ एक अलग से एक जर्नी रही है, अलग से जर्नी रही है, जो कि बहुत ही प्रशंसनीय है। आज भी मैं सिटी मॉन्टेसरी स्कूल से जुड़ा हुआ हूँ और मुझे ईश्वर से प्रार्थना है कि वो आगे बढ़े, जैसा कि एक विजन 2025 में जो एंबिशस किया गया है कार्यक्रम, उससे और भी आगे बढ़ेंगे हम, हमारे बच्चे और भी आगे जाएंगे और विश्व के पटल पर वो बहुत ही नाम कमाएंगे, नाम कमाए सिर्फ सिटी मॉन्टेसरी स्कूल का नहीं बल्कि भारत देश का और मानवता के कल्याण के लिए वो आगे कार्य करेंगे, ऐसी मेरी शुभकामनाएं हैं। धन्यवाद।
Thank you so much, respected Haji, as we call him, respected Mr. R.C. Gupta, the General Secretary of CMS. I would like to thank wholeheartedly respected Dr. Jagdish Gandhi ji, the Program Manager of CMS, for giving us an opportunity to be able to convene this forum today. I would also like to thank respected Dr. Bharti Gandhi ji and respected Professor Geeta Gandhi Kingdon for being with us through and through, supporting us, boosting our morale right from the start and till the end here. And I would like to thank each and everyone who gave their valuable time, their precious time to share their words of wisdom and to be with us, and to all the students who might be listening to this online. We have a last video and I think it should sum it all, from a message from an illustrious alumni, CMS Station Road 1996 pass out student, Mr. Prashant Kumar Singh, who served as director of RDSO, then later as ADRM, and now he's heading one of the biggest sectors of the UIDAI, that is the Government of India's Aadhaar card. He's the director of Uttar Pradesh, and he's looking after a huge population of Uttar Pradesh to get them their identity. So here's the message. He's also serving as Major General in the Territorial Army. Railway has 6 divisions and he's heading one of those 6 divisions of the railway, Indian Railways, in the capacity of being the Major General of Territorial Army. So here is his video message, and 2 of his daughters are also studying in CMS, and we are very proud of them. Thank you.
प्यारे बच्चों, CMS स्कूल अपनी फिलॉसफी वासुदैव कुटुंबकम के माध्यम से हम छात्रों को एकता की और समस्त विश्व को एक परिवार के समान समझने की शिक्षा देता आया है। CMS स्कूल अपने पाठ्यक्रम में नैतिक शिक्षा के माध्यम से हमें वे संस्कार समाहित करता आया है जो हमें अपनी संस्कृति से जोड़े रखता है। और भारत तो हम सभी जानते हैं कि वह देश है जहां परिवार केवल एक शब्द ही नहीं, एक अनुभूति है। मैं CMS स्कूल का बहुत आभारी हूं कि यहाँ के टीचर और प्रिंसिपल व्यक्तिगत रूप से हमारा मार्गदर्शन करते हैं, साथ ही हमें अपने परिवार से बढ़कर प्यार करते हैं। यही कारण है कि आज इतने साल बाद भी CMS स्कूल हम छात्रों को एक कुटुंब की तरह जोड़ के और सहेज के रखा हुआ है। मैं CMS परिवार को बधाई देता हूं और ये कामना करता हूं कि हमारा कुटुंब यूं ही प्रेम और एकता का संदेश सारे विश्व में फैलाए तथा सफलता के नए परचम लहराता रहे। धन्यवाद। जय जगत।
So that was Mr. Prashant Kumar Singh. Thank you so much for sparing your valuable time to make this video especially for us. And you are busy right now. His family is displaying a huge garden to the governor of Uttar Pradesh, and they have been winning this garden for the last, I believe, 20 odd years in succession. So advanced wishes to, best wishes to the Singh family, and may they win this year as well.
I've just been to that flower show this morning.
Great. Thank you, ma'am. And the theme that he has kept is Aadhaar card, and also there's a theme.
There was an Aadhaar card stall there.
Okay, ma'am. Yes. Thank you. So, ma'am, would you like to say something before we conclude?
I'd just like to thank everybody, people who have stayed to the end. Special thanks to them, Mr. Atul Sharma, Mr. Hassan Ahmed, and Chacha ji, R.C. Gupta ji. And thank you, Shishir, also for organizing this very interesting event that has allowed people to reminisce about their time at CMS. And we hope that they will keep connected with us going forward.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. So that brings us to the very end. And I would like to thank Team CMS, everyone who has helped, from the team of Mr. R.K. Singh and Mr. Gulfam, and especially Mr. Ahmed Sheikh, who is here, and he has been here since early morning, and along with his camera team, along with all the technicians, and without their support, it was not possible. He made it possible for us to stream it online. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, R.K. Singh and all his team.
Yes. Thank you so much, ma'am. Have a nice Sunday. Enjoy your day, and we'll see each other in near future again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.